Hey everyone, let's make all this happen here. Let's make all this happen here. Oh, got some stuff going on. Oh, let's see. There we go. A little Instagram, YouTube, and we are live in action. How's everyone? Get a sound check. You guys hear me just fine? Good afternoon, everyone. Another confession. Hey, Mert Dimmerag, thanks for joining. What's going on? Hey, YouTube. Hey, Lando, what's going on? Thanks for jumping in here. Thanks. Sound check is clear. Perfect. Good afternoon. Thanks. Thank you. We're going to have another interesting show. You guys like when I interview people, so we're going to do that again. Let me here we go. Make sure I have a link to make this live. Very cool. Good to hear. Thanks for joining in. Just drop the link in there. So, yeah, we're going to have this is a conversation that I think doesn't really take place much because sure. What about we talk today, Santos? Would love to. It's when I finish with this, sure, we can talk. You have my number. Shoot me a text what time you want to talk. So, as you see by the title, ladies, we're going to have a confession. We had this before. So we're going to have another confession from a lady about why women don't know how to be an asset for a man. And if a woman really can, we're going to work out how that can be done. Well, I think this is a somewhat people dance around this topic. I don't think anyone's really taking it on. You know why? Because when I Googled making a wife your asset, I couldn't find anything. I mean, it drifted off into how women take your assets in a divorce. So no one's really talking about making your wife an asset. You're really not. So thanks for stepping in. Hey, PJ. Having a dinner date. So this is going to be perfect for you. This is perfect. You'll be able to address your dinner date with some things from this. So perfect, man. Glad you're joining in here, PJ. Hit the likes. Let's get the likes up. That way YouTube gets this in their algorithms. They catch it, pass it on, and we get some other people that have some interesting comments. I just dropped the link in there to join. We're going to have a woman. I want to call her a young lady, but she's surely not a little girl. So she has some interesting experience in this world of relationships. And we're going to talk about women being an asset. Most women will never be an asset, and they won't know that. I think a lot of women have no idea, or we kind of take it for granted And, you know, I think with red pill, black pill, MGTOW, CISPEM, even incel, all this, men are rethinking relationships. And we may be coming up with a real ugly answer to a question, is whether have women ever been an asset to a man? So, you know, I'll read out what assets are, tangibles, intangibles, so that we're all clear on what assets are. Well, women may have never been an asset, and men may be figuring this out. Our fathers and grandfathers didn't. They kind of they just accepted what was there, and women have just been riding this train and had men fooled that, you know, they were getting something that they were not. Hey, the Robstagram, thanks for joining. Maybe it's not hopeless. Maybe, but I think part of the problem is men didn't have the tools to navigate through relationships, and this topic here and being an asset is a big one. And I don't think most men, because like I said, I couldn't even find articles that talked about women as an asset. Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about, you know, the body. Good, but I'm okay. All right. Okay. All right. So you can shoot me a message on Instagram when you like to shoot me a message. We're connected on Instagram. Shoot me a message when you like to talk. Yeah, I get that. Lots of women are teaching men the red pill. That's the catalyst for a lot of guys. So let me give a big thank you to West Coast Reg. Thank you, Reg, for the super chat. Much appreciated. You guys see my I always appreciate the support from everyone. The feedback, the financial support. My Cash App is in the chat, and my PayPal account, so you can click on those and support. That helps me give you guys many more tools so you can navigate this world and deal with the things that are in your face every day. Yeah, with the internet, it's making it easier for guys to talk and communicate. Ball and chain. So we're going to talk about. You're killing my drinking fun. So, Reg, we're going to talk about assets, man. And maybe women can be way more valuable than men knew, and perhaps more valuable than women knew they could be. I think without giving the women the knowledge on even how to be an asset, that's a problem also. I see I got another cousin in here. How you doing? Thanks for joining in. Khalid, always love seeing you in here, man. Always love seeing you. And Khalid, if you want to jump over into YouTube and join, it would be interesting to hear your perspective on this topic. So we're going to, in a few seconds, I'm going to bring a woman into this conversation. And I know there were a little while ago, there was a woman who jumped into the chat and she said I sounded like I was from 1850. So I'd love it if you ladies would jump in this chat, and we're going to talk about, you know, how does a woman be an asset to a man, right? So if you're going to be married, and a marriage is a legal binding contract that can only be dissolved by a court-appointed judge, right? So it's pretty serious. Your assets are tied and your liabilities are tied into that, bundled into that legal binding contract. And that contract needs to produce some kind of result that benefits both parties in the contract. And I don't know if most people are looking at it that way. They kind of think, well, if I just feel good and I have love, and all these people who go into this legal binding contract to call marriage, you end up in divorce court and being stripped of assets and being given more liabilities in some cases. So So let's talk about how to make this beneficial. I think either men and women don't really know how to do this, because when I looked up how a wife can be an asset, I found nothing. It was so vague. There was nothing there. So, hey, PJ, I wonder if most women have ever even thought about being an asset to a man. And so we're going to bring in a woman in here. You guys have met her before, and she's had epiphanies, several of them, about men, about how women relate to men. And you guys have engaged her before. You've engaged her in the chat. Well, we're going to talk specifically about women being an asset. And she really does have some expertise in this relationship world. And we're going to bring her in here. So, for years as men, we've been listening to women tell us their worth, and they are the prize. But how does that translate into practical value for a man? And so I don't know if men, we need to start figuring out complex equations to figure out how the prize or worth benefits them, or is it some airy fairy illusion, and we're supposedly not smart enough to be able to figure it out. So I want to get to the bottom of that today. So we are going to dive in and drill down. Even if she brings lucrative career, she's a liability. Yep, she can still be a liability, no question. So let's get the likes up, guys. We want YouTube to track me in the algorithms. We want to get some ladies in the chat so that they can kind of scream and holler and tell us we don't know what we're talking about. So let's get the likes up, guys. Yeah, women can cheat. Absolutely. Men don't want to risk that. And I would just wonder, if a woman knew how to be an asset instead of coming in being a liability, how would that change the dynamics of a relationship? And so do men have the tools and the knowledge of how to interview, and I'm going to say even interrogate a woman to see if she is an asset or a liability? So we're going to deal with that. Yeah. So we have all these vague things. So Shanley, thanks for joining in. Thank you. So you know what? Let's get some things on the table. So I went to this website called Investopedia. In Investopedia, it answers a question: what is an asset? An asset is a resource with economic value that an individual, corporation, or country owns or controls with the expectation that it will provide a future benefit. That's what an asset is. Something that provides a future benefit, the expectation that it will. I think this is where a lot of guys get upset. Yeah, you can create a prenuptial agreement, but that doesn't really address whether or not your wife will create a future benefit. So assets are reported on a company's balance sheet and are bought or created to increase a firm's value or benefit the firm's operations. So if you look at your household as an operation, how does a woman come into your life even before she's a wife and benefit your operation? An asset can be thought of as something that in the future can generate cash flow, reduce expenses, or improve sales, regardless of whether it's manufacturing equipment or a patent. So a patent can also be an asset, it can be an intangible asset. And women speak often about intangible assets. Utu Bebab 2000, the courts are pro-feminist. We lose from the start. Actually, PJ, it's a good question. So your house is actually not an asset if you have a mortgage. Your house is an asset for the bank, and it's a liability for you. The same thing with your car. So if you have a car and you're making car payments on it, your car is not an asset; it's a liability. And unless what you owe is your car is a liability if you're making payments. Yep. So exactly, Khalid, knowing the roles that people play. That's an interesting statement, Charles. If you cannot own a woman as property, she cannot be an asset to a husband, right? That very interesting. So intangible assets are economic resources that have no physical presence. They include patents, trademarks, copyrights, and goodwill. Accounting for intangible assets differs depending on type of asset. They can be either amortized or tested for impairment each year. So, even though it's an intangible, it can lose its value. So I am going to bring in the famous Tisha Underwood, as you all can see here. How are you, Letitia?
Oh my gosh, I'm great. How are you?
Very good. Good. Thanks for joining us again. This time we might be a little rugged with you today because this is an important topic, and I think the guys really want to get to the meat of this one. So are you ready for that?
No. I'm looking at that and I'm like, whoo, what did I get myself into
Oh
today?
man. Oh man. Well, this is going to be good times.
We shall see. We shall see.
So what do you think of this topic?
I was reading an article today from the transformedwife.com and gave an interesting perspective on how a wife is to be an asset to her husband. So it first talks about how a woman is a helpmeet and not a helpmate. Helpmeet has a different connotation than helpmate. But for a woman to be an asset, it really boils down to what that man needs and desires and how she can benefit him. A suitable helper for a husband is a wife who is different from him but well suited to him, one who completes him in every way and who brings harmony, not discord, to the relationship. A true helpmeet builds her marriage and her home up. So basically, a woman who is an asset is one who is there to suit your needs. Whatever it is that you need from her, she should be forthcoming and giving.
Okay. So if I were to ask you what makes a woman an asset, I mean, did you just answer that, or is there?
Yeah, I just answered it. I mean, it varies from man to man. There's not going to be one set answer. So what you desire in a woman is going to be totally different from what someone else desires, and what you see as an asset, as her being a valuable asset to you, another man is not going to. So okay, so someone said examples. Some men don't want a woman that do not care if a woman cooks or cleans. It's not something that is as a big deal to them, right? So if a man does not see a woman who cooks, cleans, and takes care of children, okay, as a big deal, he's not going to view that as an asset. But a man who does want a woman who cooks and cleans, and he sees that as something valuable, he sees that as an asset. A woman who is going to not use sex as a tool, not use sex as a manipulating tactic. A woman who is not going to see sex as a chore. A woman who some men appreciate a woman bringing in financial resources. That's an asset to that man. It may not be an asset to another man. Some men value intelligence. Some men do not. Some men value a woman who is going to help him in his business. Some men do not. I mean, I can go on and on about different examples.
So you said intelligence. That's an intangible. So an asset is a resource with economic value. So No. An asset is a resource with economic value that an individual, corporation, country owns or controls with the expectation that it will provide future benefit. And most assets appreciate over time. They don't depreciate, right? So if a woman, if her asset is cooking and cleaning, well, a man can actually do a cost benefit analysis and say, hey, this woman is using electricity, she's consuming food, she needs a car, she needs clothes, she needs all these things, and she cooks and cleans. Or I can pay $100 a week for a company that will prepare food for me, deliver it, and all I have to do is heat it up, and I have no added expenses to that. And I can pay a maid, $50 a week, and I've got 600, I've got for less than $1,000 a month. I don't have to take them to dinner, none of that. And I'm not going to have someone arguing, complaining, telling me what I should do, what real men do, and having my head, out of sync. Because if I can afford all those things, apparently I have all the inspiration and ambition. I have all that. So I'm not looking for that. So I can pay a service to easily accommodate me. And those services wouldn't be considered an asset. They would just be services that I can pay for and fire whenever if I'm not satisfied. So how does a woman compete with that?
I understand. A man who is not looking for those things, she will have to compete in a different way. But you can't deny that there are a lot of men who are not going to want to pay for services. They will prefer that their wife do these things. They would choose a wife who is going to do these things. Now, a man who does not need a woman who is going to be cooking and cleaning, he has to decide what is that he wants. It's not really for a woman to decide how she's going to be valuable to a man. It's for a man to tell a woman what it is exactly that he desires, and then a woman has to decide if she can meet that need. If she can't meet those needs, then she does not qualify.
See, here's where a big challenge comes in. So as men, we're given clear instructions on what we are supposed to be as an asset, right? So our asset is clearly economic, right? So if a guy is not earning an income, he's not an asset to the woman.
Well, that's women telling you what they desire. Women tell you for the most part what they want. I'll tell you, I want protection, I want provision, I want stability, I want security, right? So then it's for a man to say, okay, well, these are the things that I desire in you. Can you meet that?
What I'm saying is men don't need a woman to tell him that. He's been raised from his daddy. From the day he was born, he was told, you have certain responsibilities as a man. And you'll hear it, if you're not doing certain things, if you don't have a job, you're not being a man. And women will say this, you're not being a real man. Women are looking for a man to be an asset. Do you have your own car? Do you have your own home? Do you have a job? Right? So, and are you responsible? These are things that are they're base. Those are the base things. And that gets you a basic lifestyle. So the challenge is do women have any knowledge whatsoever about what they need to bring to a man to be an asset to him, as opposed to saying, well, tell me what to do?
Well, yes, but for some reason, men are now starting to reject the things that women have been told and taught over the years.
And what are those things?
The things we're told is you are supposed to, you cook, you clean, you take care of your children, and you take care of your husband, and whatever his needs are, you meet those needs. That's what women, for the most part, are taught and told. And men don't look at women most men do not look at, successful men do not look at women for their tangible assets, whether or not she has a car. As an adult, that's just basic. You should, as a woman, especially if you have children, you should have a car. You should have your own home. But those aren't things that men looking for women, because men are the providers, men are the leaders. Women are not. So if a man is in a position of, he's going to be the head of household. He's going to have to provide the home. He's going to have to provide the transportation. So that's why women are looking at those things. Women are looking to make sure that, okay, you're capable of leading because you're able to provide for the family. A man should be looking at a woman. I mean, well, women, and it just boils down to, we are taught that we should be cooking and cleaning. Those are the valuable assets that we bring to a marriage. That's what we were told. Now it seems like men are rejecting that, because now men are like, I don't want you to cook and clean for me. I don't want you to take care of my children. Okay, so then it's like, well, this is what we've been told our lives. So what do you want?
You see, and I think this is what I said at the beginning. Perhaps women have never been an asset to men, and men are actually taking a step back and saying, well, what am I really getting? Because I'm putting at risk, my all of my assets. I have assets, and I have tangible, and my intangible can be completely disrupted, which is my mind, or my ability to produce results. And if I go through divorce, that gets disrupted and impaired. So why should I risk that? And seeing that I married a woman and I actually never got an asset. So according to an asset, a resource, human, and you can have human beings are a resource, a human resource with an economic value that an individual, corporation, or country owns or controls, with the expectation that it provides a future value. A lot of women use their body as an asset, and a woman's body depreciates over time. So that's a depreciating asset. That, to a man, that's not beneficial. And if it's sex, well, 38% of marriages are sexless, or a lot of guys who are not getting that. I think a lot of guys are kind of reevaluating marriage as to whether men have ever been getting anything out of it, and they just accepted it for that's just the way it is.
I would have to disagree. I think that men have, for centuries and decades, have viewed women as a value, as an asset, but you have to look at the women at that time versus the women of today. So now when you look at the women of today, now you can ask that question: are women truly an asset? Because women no longer, for the most part, seem to show themselves to have any value or self-worth or self-respect. So you have to take previous times out of the equation, and let's just look at it for today, because men of that time, you can see how they did value women, even women shown themselves to be a valuable asset to their husbands. But today, yeah, we have to, it's a great question to ask of women of today.
So how was a woman an asset in the past?
Well, for the most part, she stayed at home and she kept her home together. She made a comfortable, peaceful environment for her husband. When he came home, he didn't have to worry about the kids. The kids were taken care of. Dinner was on the table. And all he had to do was play with him a little bit, send him off to bed. And then him and the wife spent time together, doing what they do, so
what does that mean, doing what they do? I don't understand. What does that mean?
It's having
adults. What does that mean, doing what they do? What do they do that they do?
Doing what they do. No.
What do they do?
Well, you can sit there and have conversation. He can talk about his day, and then at nighttime, have sex.
I don't know. What? I'm sorry. Say that again.
Have sex. And go to sleep and wake up the next day and everything is all good. They're not arguing. He doesn't have to come home and hear her complaining and venting and just acting like a shrewd fishwife. I can't say this of all marriages back then, but I can say a man who found a woman who made sure that she made a good home environment for her husband. He viewed her as an asset, and that's why men married those women. You don't see that today. You don't see women willing to do anything for a man. You don't trying to make sure that he has some comforts. And even if she's a stay-at-home wife, you have a lot of women who feel that a man should be more so about her and there's no reciprocity.
Okay.
Right. What are you writing?
I didn't want to interrupt you. I wanted you to keep going. So I had two thoughts, and that now I forgot the other one because I was writing and listening to you. So the one thought is that women, that I don't know how many decades they did this. For decades, every year they would do a poll, a nationwide poll, and they would ask women several questions. And one of the questions was, what's more important, to have a man with a lot of money or to have a man who was a really good lover? And for decades, women always said, I wanted a man who was a good lover. And I remember right in the mid 80s, it changed. There was a tipping point. For the first time, there was a little bit more women who said, show me the money. So if it was, at one time, 75% of the women said, I want the man who's a good lover, and 25% wanted the money, that changed to like 52% wanted the money and 48% wanted the good lover. And every year, the women who wanted the money more than the good lover, that number of wanting to be more materialistic has been growing. So women have been clear about how they want a man to be a resource to them, an asset, and sex. And the other thought I was having is, I'll come back to that. So go ahead.
Well, you have to look at the dynamics of between those time moments. You had men back up until the 70s, late 60s, 70s. You had men who were really understood their role of being the provider, and even if their woman worked, because let's face it, a lot of Black women did work outside the home. But you still had men who knew that their role, knew and understood and respected that their role was to be a provider, that they were not going to be able to get a wife unless he was able to provide some tangible resources for her. Then you seen after Vietnam War that men were coming back home in droves, and they were not able, either they were not in position to get a job, they were not in condition to get a job. So when a lot of women started to become the breadwinner for their family, that's not a role that women are comfortable or used to, especially shifting like that in that time frame. These are women who probably grew up with their father being the head of household and being the breadwinner, and now they're finding themselves having to do it. It becomes, oh wait, no, I don't need a good lover. Forget about that. I mean, you'd be a great lover, but I can't take care of these bills and these kids on love and great sex alone. I need a man who is able to provide. So the more women start becoming independent, they're starting to see the value of a man who actually has, who can actually provide them with a good financial lifestyle.
Well, then that means women were slitting their own throat then.
Possibly. Yes, I will agree. They didn't I don't think, I can say that looking back that they probably didn't realize that instead of working with men, instead of pushing them away and misaligning them and not having any understanding for the environment of that time, that yes, they essentially did slit their own throats.
Well, I'm saying, and what you said is good, but I'm adding something else. Men never asked women to go to work. That's
not true.
No. Listen, affirmative action was for those soldiers who came home. That's who it was designed for. So instead of giving the jobs to those men, they gave them to women. If women wouldn't have taken the jobs and let the men take the jobs, then they could have stayed in their position of what they had. The women had the women. What motivated the women to get the jobs is the feminists were saying you don't need a man, and they jumped on that bandwagon, which is that they end up slitting their own throats because they got a job and they still expected men to be traditional and didn't want any traditional roles, which now they came home and they would still be traditional. And even if they get rid of the man and they have children, they still go to work, come home, cook and clean for the children. And now they are not liking this too much. Even the women who get high level positions, we've got an epidemic of women making lots of money, high income, and they're doing heroin. That's a growing trend in the US. So they're not even getting the fulfillment, and all the studies that measure a woman's happiness is lower now than it was in the 70s. So women are not even happy doing this. And for the guys who do a bunch of housework, they're not even happy about that. So no one told women to jump into the workforce. The feminists, what they wanted was gay marriage for women. That was what they were really after. They just didn't have enough numbers. If two gay men, and you look at Hoover over the FBI, he was a gay guy who had a live-in lover. So Hoover could make plenty of money and take care of his male lover. Women didn't have that. Two secretaries trying to live off of one salary and have a good life, especially if they want to adopt children. So it was the gay women who used propaganda to get their numbers up so that they could get laws passed. And we see how long that took. But it was irresponsible because they got women to take positions that women didn't really want, but they hyped the women up to think, oh yeah, now I don't have to do anything. I don't have to. They thought, like, I don't know what they thought. They thought they were not going to have to cook and clean anymore. They still had to.
Well, I mean, you said men didn't ask women to work, but you actually have to look back to World War II to see that was not true. And I think that was, I think that was the catalyst. And I think that was, you can roll your eyes, but I think that was the catalyst.
No, because women did it in World War I. The same thing happened in World War I.
Let me finish. I think that was the catalyst that feminists could use to say women did it before. We did it. We saved the men. We kept this country afloat. Women should be able to do it again. So women are looking at that like, oh yeah, that message sounds right. Yeah, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying that I agree with it.
World War I, the same thing.
Yes, and I'm saying that when you look back on that, when feminists were making their argument, when you look back on World War I, World War II, and see how women were called into the workforce, they kept the country afloat. Feminists were able to use that argument to say, hey, women can do just as much as men do, and we can do it. If not, we can do it better. Women agreed with that message because they've seen how women were able to do it. And so, yes, I agree. They thought that, okay, I can do this. And now there's going to be a lot more equity in this, in the marriage. Yes, they want to go out and work, and they want a man to step up in his role and take on half of the responsibilities of the household. Yet they still want a man to maintain his role of being a traditional man. So, and that's why I say the time is different. You're looking at modern women who are born in Generation X on down, on up, to say that, okay, now let's look at those women and see if those women are an asset to men. You can have that argument about those women, but to say that about all women and throughout the history of time, I can't agree with that. But I can agree that modern women, yes, I have a hard time with, I don't have a difficult time understanding why men do not see women as an asset today.
I don't know if women have ever been an asset. There's been only a small percentage of women who have any kind of commitment to be an asset. And you know what? That same group of women continue to do that. And in that class of people, the marriage rates haven't dropped and the divorce rate is so low. So when a woman does know how to be an asset, divorce rates are low.
Well, are men truly still being an asset today? Do they know? I mean, do they know that if a woman says, okay, this is what I desire a man to be a provider and a protector, how many men can actually say that they can step up and take care of a family on their salary to where you're not living paycheck to paycheck? That is a very small pool of men. Why is that? Why is that only a small number of men can step up and say, I can take care of my family solely on my paycheck, and we're not going to be living paycheck to paycheck?
Most men did do that. Most men took care of their family. They worked 18 hours to make that happen.
We're talking about today. I'm not talking about before, but I'm talking about today. In this modern time, how many
I
men,
understand.
what is the percentage of men that can actually do that?
Here's the deal. Women entered the workforce and pushed prices up because women are less productive than men. So corporations had to subsidize less productive employees, which now instead of paying $1, you're paying $1.25 for whatever product it is, which means now everyone has to work because while productivity dropped and it's still dropping, they have to raise prices to be profitable, and they cannot increase the man's salary. So to subsidize that, they charge higher prices. Once again, that's women slitting their throats to be in the work. They didn't. This whole thing of women getting in the workforce wasn't World War II. It was propaganda that said your men are abusing you and they're taking advantage of you and they just want you in the kitchen and in the bedroom. And that taste, women tasted that. And now what you hear women say is, well, I can't do it all. Even today, they say, well, I'm being abused if I'm a housewife, or I'm weak. That was the propaganda that was used. It wasn't World War II.
I didn't say that World War II and World War I was propaganda. I was saying that allowed for that argument to have legs. Because once, if you've never really done something before, right, you're not likely inclined. Most people are not likely inclined to try something that they've never done, right? But once you have a taste of something and you try something and you see that, oh, it can work. Oh, this is not as bad as I thought. You're going to go ahead and try it more often. So when you had to me, it was like a science experiment it was an accidental science experiment. Whereas, okay, we're going to use the women in World War I, World War II to work, but we're going to put them back in the household. You know how many women were upset? They felt that they were contributing. They were doing something more than just cooking and cleaning and take care of a family. And so they were upset with having to go back into that. So then you had the second wave feminist movement happen, and they could use that as a way to bolster their argument. Yes, we can say that. I've always said it. The feminist movement was simply just about removing men from the equation and women having all the available women to themselves. So yes, we can have that argument, but to say that women didn't see for themselves how working outside the home they felt like it benefited them. I don't.
How did it benefit them? I don't see how they saw that.
Well, for a woman who is dependent solely on a man, and you have to ask that man for money for anything that you need,
What's
and
wrong?
now your own money, it's just a different feeling.
What's the difference between asking your husband and your boss?
Well, because for them, it's a difference when you have to beg and then you're being told no, and you're not being compensated for your labor. So whereas your boss, you're going to get paid. It's a guaranteed paycheck every week or every 2 weeks or however.
You're not getting paid with your husband.
Because let's face it, some husbands were stingy with their coin.
No. You don't have to worry about paying bills. You do not have to pay a single bill.
But I want a cute dress. I want a cute bag, or I saw some shoes.
Okay, and your husband will buy it, but sometimes it's listen, this, even if I have the money, no, we're not doing that. Women spend a lot of money. There are more women living paycheck to paycheck than men.
And you just made the argument for me. You're deciding that because you have control of the money that I can't get these things for myself that I want. So now that I have a job, okay, I don't have to hear you tell me no. I can get the things that I want. Yeah, it may cause some problems in my financial situation, but I still feel good because I'm able to buy the things that I want, and I don't have to hear anyone tell me no.
You're worse off, though.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm confused. You're worse off because you're in debt that a man would not have allowed.
That for them, that's not the point. The point is, if I want something, I I don't have to hear someone tell me no, I can buy it myself. So to them, work was
dangerous. That means, so what you described is that women are not an asset. They're dangerous, because anyone who's willing to run up debt and think that they're better off is dangerous to themselves, society, and their household.
I mean, you can look at it that way, but I just
listen. You're running up debt. And you're buying things. Wait. First, someone asked, "What's the topic?" The topic is we have a lovely lady here who's actually holding back the confessions about why women do not know how to be an asset. She's saying today. Oh, she has another delivery boy coming in, huh?
No, my neighborhood gets a lot of solicitors. I think that's what
I know your code words for delivery. He's got a package, right? He's got a package for you.
No.
Hey, E Beats, thanks for joining, and Tina Marie, thanks for coming in here. Yeah, so we're talking about how women can be an asset to a man, and we talked about what an asset is, tangible and intangible, and we're talking about how World War II could have been a catalyst, except women did the same thing in World War I. Our guest is hiding out from us now. Yeah, so, and I saw a comment here. Let me get to this. So PJ, that they've never been an asset. They've never been. It's just that men have never complained, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Men didn't say anything. They just accepted it the way it was. And Charles, this is a good one. How can an uncontrollable consumer be an asset to a man? See, we talked about what is an asset. An asset is a resource with an economic value that an individual, corporation, or country owns or controls with an expectation that it will provide a future benefit. If your wife wants to spend more, and so if she wants to spend more and you're breaking even, instead of, she's not appreciating, she's not increasing any economic value because she wants cute dresses, she's not an asset. That's what I mean by being dangerous. She's now a liability. If you have employees in a company who are just running up expenses like crazy, this is why they have certain kind of audits, right? And you have salespeople. You want to see, well, what are our salespeople are claiming? They have all these expenses, and they're not bringing in money. They're not bringing in new accounts to cover this. Our employees are now becoming a liability. So a woman who says, well, I need my own money because I want this dress. And now we look that the numbers are outrageous. Like 85% of the people living paycheck to paycheck are women. 77% of the consumers purchases are women doing it. And you hear these stories about women with 200 pairs of shoes. They have a stack of clothes with tags on them.
Quit talking about
they never wore. Listen, I had a client. His wife was a dentist right here in New York. His wife was best friends with several women who were all attorneys, making $300,000 plus a year. And those women making $300,000 were living paycheck to paycheck. They lived in Manhattan. They made great salaries. And my client, the guy, said, "Hey, forget that. We're moving to another state." And his wife was mean. She was angry. She mistreated him for that. She claimed he ruined her life. And 3 years later, they come back up to New York and she sees her friends and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. And she's down in this other state, expanding her dental practice. And that's when she appreciated her husband for putting his foot down and having discipline. Her friends are single women who have no one to instill any kind of discipline. So what's the benefit of those women having a job, right? So they're running up debt, which can actually crush the nation. This is not good, having, a big percentage of people running up debt. That's not healthy for a country.
Okay, and you are correct. And a man has, so what you essentially said is that a man has basically, you have determined whether or not a woman would be an asset. If he is more concerned about material things than debt, than her spending habits, then no, she is not going to be an asset to a man who can't afford to keep up with such spending habits.
Even if he can, what do
No,
you this is an opportunity cost.
no, some men. Hold on, no. Because now I feel like you're taking personal shots at me. I have clothes with no tag, with tags on them. So no, I'm teasing you. I'm teasing everybody. I'm teasing Ted.
All right. Fellas, let's get the shotguns out. Come on. She wants to play rough now.
No, I don't.
Get the lights up. We're getting ready to take this show to the next level. Let's go.
No, but
Let's
listen.
get the lights up, guys.
Some
Lights up. We want to bring some women in here, so we're going to bring out the guillotine in a second.
Some men don't have a problem with their woman's spending habits. He's going to have a problem if she's creating debt for him, if it's too much for him to handle. But if a man, I mean, but if you know that a woman for beforehand has a spending habit, why would you choose her as a potential mate wife anyway?
Okay, so the conversation today is how we really want to get into how can a woman be an asset to a man, right? So if a woman is spending money, if she's spending $100,000 a year in buying clothes and stuff that she likes, how does that make her an asset? Is she covering that $100,000? What economic value is she bringing to the household? Because if she's costing me $100,000 and all she does is cook and clean, well, it can cost me a whole lot less by paying a company to do the cooking and cleaning, and I just cut out, like I just cut out $90,000 in expenses.
Okay, so a woman who is spending that type of money on clothes is more than likely she's buying designer clothes, which means she's with a man who is in a higher socioeconomic status, which means those clothes are going to benefit him when she's in certain social circles, meaning she's going to be accepted in certain social circles with men of other men's wives who are in the same social economic class. Now, those women bond, those women create friendships, and then the husbands are introduced. And then what happens when the husbands are introduced? They're more than likely probably going to start doing business together. So her spending clothes allows her.
See, you're saying if. See, all these if.
More than likely.
But see, it doesn't matter. See, but so what you're getting at is there is a way for a woman to be an asset, and she doesn't need $100,000 worth of clothes to do it. Now, if she wants to be in a certain economic class, I get that. What the bigger point is, does she have the mindset to do that? Because there are plenty of women who will spend that much on consumer items, right? And be the trophy wife and not make one damn contact or connection because she doesn't believe that's her job.
Well, then wouldn't that be her husband's fault? He saw, hold on, let me finish.
There's no debate for that.
He saw her as an asset, and more than likely trophy wives are very beautiful women with banging bodies. So he saw her beauty and her youth as an asset to him. So whether or not you agree with that.
No. You're making an assumption, right? So what he did was buy a disposable woman that when he's done with her, he can get rid of her.
Okay, but
he trades her in. But see, we're talking about what is an asset. So we can't have some make-believe. And now you're talking about tangible, maybe, possibly, and it's a depreciating asset.
But an asset is an asset. Now, if you want to talk about whether an asset is appreciating or depreciating, I think you should have put that in your video title, that we are only talking about appreciating assets. An asset is an asset. And if a man determines that a young, beautiful woman looks good on his arm and can have people looking at him a certain way, and he feels good about that, he sees her as an asset. You may not, but he does. And that's the case for every single man. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that every single man has different degrees of what they believe a woman can be, as far as
only women believe that their looks are an asset.
No, I know that's men. Men see that. That's women. That's why ugly women are having a hard time with understanding that beauty is a part of the repertoire when it comes to dating, mating,
No,
relationships.
that's a woman's idea of what a man wants.
No,
no. Looking good is not an asset. Looking good is just looking good.
I would have to disagree with you on that, because
so how is looking good an asset?
That is the number one qualifier.
No. An asset has economic value that it creates in the future, right? So how is looking good? How does a woman who's attractive provide economic value to a man?
Well, no woman really provides economic value to a man unless she's working and she's bringing in money.
That's incorrect. That's incorrect, because I've talked about a company I worked where the president, his wife was a soccer mom, and she networked with other people, right? Other women who, like you were saying, she networked. She didn't go to a social club. She did it as a soccer mom. But there are women who do go to social clubs, right? And they network with those women, and they find investors, clients, employees. They find all kinds of things.
And some men see that, but some men don't see that as an asset.
Well, those are usually guys who probably don't have much ambition because they don't understand how these things work. A man who thinks, and I had a guy come on here who said, well, I don't need a woman to network. And they don't understand how these highly successful men are out there rolling their sleeves up, getting things done, and their women are weaving a web behind them. They're working as a team. This is why I say people who are more affluent are still getting married. They have a very low divorce rate because their women go into those situations understanding they play a role to be an asset, and they don't need, then they can talk about, well, what are the things I can do? But when a woman understands she needs to be an asset, she needs to come to the table understanding some sort of appreciative asset capabilities before she even meets the man. That's a mindset.
And these women also bring with them not only just their networking capabilities, and let's just face it, I mean, you're talking about the upper middle class and higher class of society. That's not going to really be the case, nor is it going to happen for those who are in the lower socioeconomic classes, the working class. Because if a woman is working just as hard as her husband is, he's not really out there trying to build up a social network, and he's not really focused on her social network. He's only men who, like you said, are ambitious and who are trying to climb, who are trying to continue on that road to success, will see a woman who's networking or capable of networking as something, as an asset to him. I have come across many successful men. It is not a requirement for them. They could care less if she's out there being able to network or bring people to him or whatever. The number one requirement that my clients have is looks and youthfulness. I have yet to hear anyone
in youthfulness, right? Okay.
I have yet to hear a client speak on her networking capability. I think the only time I've heard that was from you.
Because men don't know how to ask for that, most of them. If they're not in a high enough, see, when you get to a high enough socioeconomic class, it's clear as a bell, because a lot of them have already seen how it works and operates. But if you haven't seen it, then you don't know. See, that's why we're having this conversation, because just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean that that is one way to be an asset.
Right. So this is what so then maybe the argument isn't with women. The argument is with men. You need to start looking, and
this is not an argument. Based on what you just said, most women have no clue how to be an asset. That they want to get a job. No. They want to get a job. They want to get out there and work. They may be competing with their man, and they don't care about being an asset to him. They're looking for some dude who's going to fill them with sperm and they have a baby and they won't be lonely, so they can divorce the man, take half his stuff, and my kids will always be there for me, is what they believe until they hit a certain age and see that it doesn't work that way.
Okay, you're speaking of a certain type of woman, but that doesn't speak to all women or most women. But for those women, yes, I will have to agree with you.
75% of the women I'm talking about who get married, because those are the ones who file for divorce.
And how many of those women are in marriages where they're able to stay at home and just focus on their husband and their children? So a woman out there working, no, she's not going to know how to be a financial valuable resource asset for her husband. A lot of women don't focus on being that for their husbands.
Why aren't you ladies having these conversations with your daughters? Why aren't you telling your nieces and your granddaughters? Why aren't you your neighbors? Why aren't you all saying, look, you need to be an asset to a man because you sure as hell expect him to be one?
Because feminism has taught us that we don't need to be.
Okay, so when are women going to, I want to scream. When are women going to understand that a man needs more than what's between your legs? And a lot of women use that as a carrot on a stick to play with the guy. So that becomes the game.
I never even mentioned sex, so I'm trying to figure out why that's part of the conversation.
No. I'm saying I said that.
Think that though, but most women don't think that what's between their legs is enough. Most women have the common sense and the wherewithal to understand that men need more than sex. But the conversation that I'm seeing, especially in this manosphere, is that's the biggest asset that a woman could bring to a man is sex, usefulness, and beauty. So I'm kind of getting confused because on one hand you're saying this, and then on the other hand I have other men saying something completely different. So I think men need to come together and have a conversation with each other, and y'all need to discuss what a woman, how a woman could be an asset to men in general.
Well, when you ask a woman, what are you bringing? You know what they smile and say, well, it's pretty obvious. Look at me. This is what men are being told. And
we can't say that because majority of women can't really say, look at me, because there's nothing to look at.
Maybe this is my world. This is what I've heard. This is, what are you bringing? They're like, they smile. Well, it's obvious, right?
So you're coming across beautiful women and they think that the only thing that you need is their looks and what's between their legs. So,
I had a very interesting conversation with a woman who's in grad school, and her major was like it sounded like something you had to have a really high IQ. It was like some biostatistical engineer. It was something complex. And she said to me, she was in her 20s. She was still in her late 20s. And she said, the most valuable thing a woman has is her uterus. And that is all that a man needs from a woman. So this would be someone you would consider to be highly intelligent, well-educated, surely didn't come from a poor family. And that is what she believed. I think women. So you did a show with your daughter, and there is a certain mindset younger women have. They only have it because they inherited this from the older generation.
That's true, but this new generation is something completely different, because we still had some self-respect, and we still viewed our bodies as valuable, as a prize that men needed to earn and not just pay for. But yes, a woman's uterus is very valuable, especially if she's of childbearing age and you desire to have children and have a family and continue to legacy.
Good. I'm glad you said that. That is so perfect. What about the women who can't have children and they're young and beautiful? Does that mean they're worthless?
No, that does not mean they're worthless. That means
what do they bring for a man then?
That means their value lies in something else.
Like what?
That there's going to be some compensation in other areas. It's just like women who are not beautiful. Their compensation is going to be in other areas. So
we have women who are not beautiful who think they are. and think that they're bringing beauty to the table, and they're not. I mean, you've heard other YouTubers talk to women who were less than average, who believed that they were an 8 or a 9, and they wanted a guy making $300,000 a year so she could sit at home and do nothing, and she wanted a maid and a cook. I mean, what the hell is going on? And they're not even thinking about being an asset. That is the environment of today. What?
Yes, the environment of today is most women do not believe they have to do anything for a man. That is the environment of today. So, I mean, how do you change that mindset? I think, yes, they did. I think that it's just ingrained in them. So what are men going to do about it? I mean, because I don't see it changing. So
men are walking away, or they're going overseas.
And then, I mean, if that's what they have to do, that's what they have to do. Because I just don't see it changing. I really don't. I think it's so ingrained in them, in majority of women, single women, to believe that they have to do absolutely nothing for a man, that they need a man for absolutely nothing at all. That, yeah, they're going to have to walk away.
No, keep going. What else? What are these other things that you see? Come on, don't stop. The train is like building great momentum. Keep on going.
No, you're not going to get me in trouble on this show.
No, don't you be a quitter. You better, hey, bring some value to. You better be an asset on this show.
You're not my husband, so.
I'm Ted Santos.
That's
the most important thing.
That's
you
true.
guys know that I'm Ted Santos. Me man, you woman. Now, woman, be asset.
Whatever you like.
So, okay. So women really do believe sex is an asset. And the worst part, and when I was saying to you, there was a tipping point that women wanted money more than a good lover. One of the problems that happened is women started to think having sex with a man is doing him a favor. That's not good sex for a man. That's why you get so many men who cheat. They're like, okay, she's attractive. Looks like she has good DNA. I can have children with her. She's educated. You know, she works. She brings some money. But for my fulfillment as a man, I'm not getting that. So I need to go get it somewhere else. And this woman I married is having sex with me as a favor. She's doing me a favor. As long as I do my job, right? Mm-hmm. So how is it women who think that their asset is between their legs and they're only doing it as a favor? Like, what do they think? What kind of fulfillment do they believe a man is getting out of that?
They don't care. They don't care.
How did we get here? Like, that sounds insane. How could you marry someone and not care?
Well, the only thing that they wanted was his financial resources and the lifestyle that he can provide. They didn't care about the man.
I didn't hear that. There must have been a break. Say that again. The only thing they what?
The only thing they cared about was the money, the financial resources, and the lifestyle that he could provide. They didn't care about the man. A woman who does that is obviously does not care about her husband. She's only in it for the money and the lifestyle. What?
Why would you all raise your daughters to be that way?
I can't tell you why women have raised their daughters to be that way.
You know lots of women. You've met plenty of women. And why are women raising their daughters to have that mindset?
I can say the women
are telling me about World War II when they went to work. I don't want to hear that.
I can say that the women that I have come across on social media, the reason why they have raised their daughters to be that way is because they were raised to believe that all men want to abuse and control women. So since all men are abusing, controlling, lying cheaters, you might as well get something out of the deal. Make it worth your while. So if you're going to marry a man, make sure he can provide you with some money and a good lifestyle, because guess what? He's going to beat you, he's going to cheat on you, and he's going to run you through the mud. But make sure you get something.
Where do women get these facts?
They're not facts. It's just
where do they get them?
Like you said, propaganda happened.
And who did that propaganda?
Feminism did a
And
great.
what do the feminists really want? What do they want?
They want the women for themselves. If they can get rid of
They
men,
wanted gay marriage. They wanted to have a gay marriage so that
marriage.
gay marriage, tax benefits of being married, healthcare, sharing healthcare, and I want, as a woman, I should be allowed to get a higher paying job so I can be an executive, right? So then I can be with women, and so that technically the women did you all wrong. They lied to you and screwed your heads up so that you screwed up your own life. And why aren't women upset with why aren't women screaming and putting these feminists in check?
Well, one, there is a small sector that does have an issue with what's going on, and we're speaking out about it. However,
Where do they live?
They live all over the world.
Why didn't you get them here? Why aren't they here? Because I don't. What?
Because for the most part, those women like to keep their. I mean, there you got to find them in most what you see now with the internet, the invention of the internet, the invention of YouTube and social media platforms. Now they have a voice to speak out on. So you're gonna have to find them on YouTube, basically. Find them on YouTube or some other social media platform. But they are a small group. We are a very small group. The largest and the most vocal voices are the women who think they're independent. They don't need a man. They don't have to do anything for a man, and they're fine without a man. So you have that segment of the population of women drowning out. I mean, how can you win against that when you have majority of the women who have bought into that type of ideology?
Whoa! Time out! The way this all started was with a tiny minority of women, not the majority. So when you tell me how does the minority do anything when it's actually the minority who actually created this chaos?
Well, the reason why is because, well, one, the reason why it was able to take root is because you had a lot of women who agreed with that propagandist message. Whereas now in modern times, you do not have a lot of women. Women want to be free and do whatever it is they want. If someone like me comes and tell them, you're gonna have a hard time with men, and this is not what good quality men want, and this is not how you should go about doing things, and men are much more than their wallets. I'm getting kicked out of rooms and lots of pushback. So it's hard to try to feed somebody something that they don't want to hear. It's easier to feed someone and get them to swallow a message that they agree with. And majority of women have gotten to the point where traditional values, them operating in any type of traditional values, them doing anything for a man, them existing for a man, needing or wanting a man, that's not something they want to hear, or nor do they accept.
Hey, so I want to ask, hey, guys, let's get the lights up. So the guys, if you have heard of a woman on YouTube who is speaking and standing for healthy relationships between men and women, type her name, or if you don't know her name, put a 1. But type the name of that woman.
Sure, you got one. Letitia Underwood.
Keep Letitia company. I'll be right back.
You can find me on YouTube under Discussions with the Matchmaker, 2hearts exclusive matchmaking.com. That is my YouTube channel. 2hearts exclusive matchmaking is my YouTube channel. And you can watch my videos on how I speak about how women of today have gotten it wrong and how they are missing out. And also, I get a lot of pushback. I got into a conversation with a feminist minded. She doesn't consider herself a feminist, but I called into a talk show, her little radio show, whatever you want to call it, and got a lot of pushback because men don't want women who have high body counts. Men don't want a woman who is known for for lack of a better word, they don't want someone who has been on the host role. This Amber Rose where she did the whole slut walk, whatever it is, you know, and then you have the Suki and what she's doing on OnlyFans. And I'm like, women, ladies, no, you don't have to do that. You know, there is better ways that you could go about getting your needs met, and using your body as something as just to pay for your bills. Men are not going to respect that. And what's going to happen is they're going to start treating you accordingly. So, PJ, you're looking for a woman who can provide, protect, and support. Can you find me one? You're going to get a feminist. I could find you a feminist. There are some women out there who don't mind doing that. She's not going to be pretty, though, because pretty women don't have that mindset. So, yeah. PJ, you're hilarious. But I mean, I could find you. She's not gonna be pretty. She's not gonna be physically fit, but she wouldn't mind taking care of a man. You know, of course, she's gonna lord over you about her degrees and her money and her being the breadwinner, and she's gonna treat you like you ain't ish. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, sure, I can help you with that. I mean, there's a lot of women out here looking for men that they can control. So if you don't mind a woman controlling you, I can help you out. No, Chris, I don't try to control men. I have no desire to try to control a man. If a man needs me to try to control him, then that's not the man for me. But thank you for your consideration and you know. Also, your back, Ted. Thank you, because your chat is. Michael, Letitia has high mouths. No, sir, I do not. But I mean, you know me so well. I've met you before, I guess. So you would know that how? I don't know. But okay.
So see, I'm looking. So it looks like no guy has heard of a woman doing that.
Let's see. Someone said Diana Davison. Someone said Karen Strahan.
Diana Davison, okay.
Is Karen Strahan? I don't know these people, but these are the names that they're saying. So, oh my gosh, really, Chris? Typical. typical. Let's see, PJ. Pretty women have the mindset that you're going to be paying. You're going to take care of them.
You see, Janet Fiamengo.
So we're talking about women who are 8s and above.
So there's some women I heard speak in great detail about how destructive feminism has always been from the beginning.
It has, and also the problem is that you have men who have these women believing that what they're saying is fine and okay, and these are men who are still dealing with them. And when you have men who are still dealing with them, they're going to look at it as, well, I mean, okay, then I might not be your cup of tea, but at least somebody want me. In order for things to change, it's going to have to be all men are going to have to stop dealing with such women in order for there to be a mind reversal.
So female MRA, I think Charles, MRA is a men's right activist, are chameleons. That's a concern men have.
What? Oh, men's rights. Okay, I'm not a men's right activist, man's right activist, whatever you want to call it.
So there is one of the things that's happening now with the pandemic is leveling out the playing field. There are a lot of women who are leaving the workforce, especially if they have children. There's an article that's saying soon you may only see men in the office, and women who work, they may be working from home. We may be going back to old times. So here's the question. So how does a woman be an asset? So if you understand all these things are happening, women listen to feminists. How does a woman be an asset to a man? Like I don't, unless if you want me to read an asset and tangible assets, but how does a woman be a real asset? Not in her mind. How does she be an asset?
That's really not a question that a woman
How
can.
does a woman know how to be an asset? Men know how to do it. We don't need women to say anything to us. We know how to be an asset out the gate.
You guys know because you guys were taught and raised how to be a financial asset. Women were not raised that way. We're not taught that way. We are taught to take. We are taught to be receivers of men's financial resources and their financial assets.
Well, oh, see, so that's so there's the problem. You're taught to be receivers, yet you feel like you're giving us something that's a favor. That's a problem.
That doesn't know. Why does that have to feel like it's a favor? It's reciprocity.
Telling you what women say. I have sex with my man. If a woman has sex with a man, I'm doing him a favor.
Okay, that's not all women. Now
The
those
numbers
women.
are astronomically high.
Okay, but that's not all women. So if that's usually a woman who does not have who sees sex as anything other than to please her man and to have babies. So of course she's going to look at it as a chore. She does it's something she does not enjoy. But as far as anything else goes, we were just not raised that
Okay.
way.
So here I'm thinking of women who are well educated, they have jobs, right? Advanced degrees, married, divorced, widow, and I'm thinking of one woman in particular that was shocking. Her she always talked about how her husband, who's deceased, made her feel so special and all these things that he did for her. Cool. So one day I asked her, what did you do to make your husband feel special? And she came up with, she said, well, I would have sex with him. That's the mentality I'm talking about. And this would be considered a nice, she's, you wouldn't see her as someone who's going to be a gold digger or take, and she spoke so highly of her deceased husband, yet her idea of doing special, making him feel special, was to have sex with him. That's doing a favor. And I asked explicitly, so you did your husband a favor? She said yes.
Okay, but most women aren't really raised to see sex as a favor. We're sex really is not. That's why a lot of women don't understand sex and don't understand their bodies because sex is never really a conversation that most women have with their daughters. The conversation that we have is reciprocity. If your husband is out there and he's hunting the pig and bring it home for you to slaughter and make a meal out of, then you should make sure that he has a clean home to come home, that he has a clean home when he gets there, that he has food on the table and he never has an empty belly, and that he doesn't have to deal with anything else outside of the workplace because he has enough on his plate. And when he gets home, he should have nothing on his plate but a meal. So full belly. There is even a saying that a man should never leave home with his belly empty nor his balls. I'm sorry to be crass, but that's what we say. That's what women are talking about. So women do understand that they need to take care of their man and really be what all that he needs. Now unfortunately, that is not really the conversation that you hear today because a lot of women just view a man as an ATM machine and I really don't know what to tell men about that because you guys know and understand this. So the only thing that can be done is what are you going to do to make sure that you don't attract such women?
Okay. Well, see, there's a culture. So living in other countries and seeing that this kind of mindset doesn't exist in other, there are places where it does, but it doesn't exist in all places. So there's a certain way, a mindset that women in the U.S. have that you're less likely to find anywhere else.
That's true. We created our own culture. In our culture, in today's culture, I mean, we built upon because America is so young compared to other area countries and regions in the world that we first started out mimicking other cultures. And then as time went on, we started creating our own culture. And the culture of today has taken on a new a new pair of legs all of its own. And our culture of today is women just don't care. I mean, they want a man, they may want a man, but they're not going to see themselves of having to do anything to get him or to keep him. I'm just a woman, and if you want me, then I'm here, and you're going to have to take me as I am.
And so someone asked, so you're saying a man should leave home with his balls full. So there's a statistic that says couples that have sex 4 times a week or more earn higher incomes and have more fulfilling marriages, relationships, right? So women who are saying, well, if you do this, I'll have sex with you, she's technically robbing their bank, because if the man in her life has a large sexual appetite, it would seem she'd be better off to fulfill that appetite so he doesn't have to go elsewhere. And that's a guy who's more likely to earn high. Statistically, those are guys who tend to be more ambitious.
Okay, when it comes to sexual compatibility, a guy with a high sex drive can't expect a woman with a very low sex drive to meet his need. So you have to vet according to sexual compatibility, because trying to fit a square peg into a round hole is just not going to happen. So to her, it is going to feel like a chore, because now she's only trying to please him. She's not getting any fulfillment or any joy out of it. And so, but yet she loves her husband and wants to keep him. So she's going to do what's necessary. And if having sex with him when she's not in the mood, then that's what she feels like she has to do. The only thing is, you can either wait till she gets in the mood so that it can be reciprocal and you both can get some enjoyment, or you're going to either more likely probably cheat because your needs aren't being fulfilled.
Someone said polygamy is necessary for those men.
Not necessarily. You have plenty of women out here who have very high sex drives. Just find one of those.
Well, so there's another problem, is that, see, this is where the relationship is actually on the man. A woman's mood is predicated on what a man does to make her feel like she's in a mood. Essentially, if a woman is not an asset, the man has to make her feel like she's in a mood. All these things he's got to protect, provide, and she's just there to take. That's like being in a relationship with a child.
That's a relationship.
And women get upset. Women get upset if you treat them the way they present themselves.
Well, that's on them. I mean, that's on them. I mean, men
but
have
the numbers are enormous now. They're enormous.
To me, it's like you're trying to remove men's responsibility in getting with such women. Men have a choice too. You are picking and choosing such women. You don't have. Yes, the numbers are very high, but so if you're settling with such women, because why? Why are you settling with such women? I would like for men to answer that. You're settling with such a woman and she's causing you all this misery and discomfort. Then why choose her? Did you not know this beforehand? Did you not realize that she was not a compatible, suitable mate? So what caused you to choose such a woman who is going to see sex as a chore, and you don't see her as a valuable asset to you? So, I mean, I don't understand that. I understand men have a choice. Men have a decision. No one's putting a gun to your head and saying, these are the women you have to be with. I mean, if this is all the women that you're attracting, then there's an issue. I mean, if you're just going to have to do a better job at searching out women that meets all your needs and check your boxes. And if you feel a woman need whatever assets she could be to you, search out those women. I'm not denying that there are women out here who just don't care, who aren't an asset. Those women, leave them off to the side. Maybe if men left them alone, they'll get it together. But the problem is, as long as men are dealing with such women, they're going to always feel like they can just be who they are and do what they want to do because someone is willing to put up with them.
So here's an interesting comment. A woman is satisfied when she pleases her husband, but feminism teaches women that pleasing a man is suppressive.
Oppressive. Yes. Feminism does teach that if you care about a man, that you know and understand that you are here, that a woman's sole purpose is to serve man, is to be a helpmeet and meet his needs, and whatever those needs are. Yes, that is viewed as a weak woman, a woman who is being controlled, a pick me. So yes, that statement is correct.
I mean, do you get that that has become the culture of the United States?
Yes, I just said that not too long ago.
So that means if it's the culture, that means when it's the culture, that's the majority of the people.
That's the majority of women, yes. So men have to, unfortunately, men are going to have to, I mean, it's going to be like searching a needle in a haystack for that woman who's not a feminist, who doesn't
So
even have.
wait a second. I'm going to say it in my words. Are you saying most women are not worthy of a man's time and investment? Because she's the needle in the one who is the needle in a haystack?
Yes.
I can't hear you.
Yes.
Yes, what?
That most women of today are not worthy of a man's time or attention or his resources. That's the hard truth of the matter. They don't value themselves. They don't see, if you don't see a man as something that is more than an ATM, then no, you don't deserve a man. You certainly don't deserve a good man.
Interesting. PJ says thank you. Finally. Right. So this guy says that I married a young virgin Christian professional woman and she still turned out to try and force feminism on me. That's interesting. Oh, they love you. They're giving you claps. They're giving you all kinds of.
Oh, now you love me.
So have you ever? I'm going to ask everyone in the chat. Has anyone ever heard of a professional girlfriend, boyfriend, or professional husband or wife? Has anyone ever heard of that? Professional girlfriend, boyfriend, professional husband or wife. Anyone ever hear that?
The work husband or work wife. Is that what you're talking about?
Nope.
The guy, the person on the job that you have this relationship with and you built this, but they're everything you need, but it's only inside the workplace.
Nope.
No? Okay. So I don't think I've ever heard of that. Who explain that one to me?
So does anyone know? So you haven't heard it. PJ, you say yep. What do you think a professional boyfriend or girlfriend or a professional husband or wife is? What if you've heard of that? What do you think that is? It's in Japan. What does that mean, Japan?
Oh, is this like a sugar daddy, sugar mama situation? So is it a sugar mama, sugar daddy situation? Like you're paying me to be
PJ or whoever's heard of it, what do you think it is? Just write it succinctly. Be right back.
Now who has to answer the door? Said you got a stripper coming showing up. You getting up quite a lot. So PJ, is it, I'm gonna look it up, a professional husband? I've never heard of that term. Professional husband. That is okay. Well, I have to look it up on Urban Dictionary because I'm not. Most young guys have in Japan pay for a boyfriend. Okay, so this deals with a guy or a woman who is paying someone to give them a significant other experience.
Most
PJ,
young guys have in Japan for a boyfriend or girlfriend experience. Okay, so you paid someone. What was that? There was a movie with Kevin Hart where he paid a guy to be his best man. Kind of like that. So you're paying, instead of a best man, you're paying someone to be your boyfriend or girlfriend. Interesting. could include sex. So not necessarily an escort. So we kind of have that, escorts in the US, right? Could include sex, maybe not.
Okay, so it's like someone who so did you ever see the movie The Proposal? Not The Proposal. Was it The Proposal? Not The Proposal. The Wedding Date. Well, this woman, she was an executive for a company, and she was single, and she was going to her family for a weekend or something, either or that, or she was going to a wedding. It was with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock, and she paid him to pretend to be her fiance for that event, for that moment, that time period.
Right.
So
Wow.
a professional boyfriend and girlfriend, husband, or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not even close to saying that.
No.
So when you look this up on the dictionary, you won't see it because I invented this.
Oh. Okay.
So I invented another term called disruptive leadership. And when I invented it, it didn't exist on Google. Now, if you Google disruptive leadership, it's all over the place. So now I'm inventing something else.
Did they give you credit like they gave Beyonce credit for Bootylicious?
No, they did not. No,
Oh,
I trademarked it, right? So maybe I trademark this. So here's a professional boyfriend or girlfriend, professional husband or wife. So when you're a professional, you may or may not have, somehow you have clients directly or indirectly. So if you're an entrepreneur, you definitely know who your clients are. If you work in sales, and maybe even operations at some level, if you're a CEO, you definitely know your clients. So here's the deal. When you, in the workplace, when you are a professional and you look at your number one client, your best client, how do you treat your best client? How do you treat your best client?
Like you treat them very well.
So if you have a client that's giving you repeat business, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, they're giving you business that pays a lot of bills and salaries, but this is your best client. They pay on time, they pay good prices, they don't give you a hard time. You take good care of that client. And you know what? You don't argue with them. And when your client has unrealistic needs, you know they're going to pay you. You figure out how to meet those needs, even though they seem unrealistic. They may be asking for something you've never done, and you've got to figure it out. You make them a priority, PJ. Exactly. And you know what? You take them to lunch, and you say, "Hey, I know you guys are growing. You're going in a new direction. Or how have we been doing for you? What are the things that we can do for you to make life easier? How do we make life easier for you in my company?" And you figure that out with the client, but you take time out to find out. That's what a professional in business does. And that's how you keep that client. That's how you keep them paying. And if they are going to be unreasonable, you're okay with that. They're probably going to say, "Just charge me. I know I'm being ridiculous." You take them to lunch, you make them a priority, you shut your mouth and you listen to them. Now, if you were a professional boyfriend, if you were a professional girlfriend, you take that same exact approach and you'd make sure, just like in business, you want to be an asset to your client. You want to make life easier. You want to provide your engagement, your participation with your client gives them some kind of benefit. It saves them a ton of money. It allows them to do things faster, which saves money. And it gives them a competitive edge. It makes them better. If you are a boyfriend, girlfriend, if you are a husband or wife, and you are not addressing your significant other, then you are an unprofessional and you should be fired.
Okay. I don't disagree.
Except people don't think that way. They don't talk that way. They know how to engage their client, but they don't bring that same kind of professionalism and mindset. And based on what you just said, any woman who's going to care is a needle in a haystack. So guys are going to have to look elsewhere where the culture is not feminist, where it's hating men. So what I'm suggesting is that women learn to be professionals, professional wife, professional girlfriend, and engage their significant other just, in the same realm that they would deal with an important client, because that guy in your life is important. He's going to influence how you feel, decisions. He's going to affect every aspect. And if you're really leveraging them, you're brainstorming, you're dealing with things in life and they're helping you think through, they're giving you solutions. They may have an expertise that can be valuable. They may have access to a network and referrals. And if you're not being a professional girlfriend, there's no reason to ever make you a wife.
True, but they don't care. They don't care. Like, they don't care about you not making them a wife. As long as, women of this day and age, they don't view men as an asset or benefit to them unless he is subsidizing their lifestyle. So all of that aside, unless you are giving them what they truly need, which is money, they're not going to care about moving on or moving up with you. So, if someone doesn't view, if a woman doesn't view a man as most women of today do not view men as a benefit. They don't see how cooperating with men benefits them at all. So they just don't care. They don't care.
What if this pandemic turns that upside down?
The only thing it's going to change are women who are on the cusp, who do desire a man, who do want a man, and they're seeing, oh wait, okay, I've been handled a bag of poop, and this does not feel right. I'm gonna have to change my mindset. I'm gonna have to switch it up a little bit. But for the most part, they don't care. Women see, and my daughter had to explain this to me, that women of this generation, they only see themselves, their bodies, as a transactional exchange.
This is not new. This has been happening for a long time. When a woman has sex with a man as a favor, that's a transaction. And as long as he's protecting it, as long as he's providing, when he's not providing, you said it. That's what your mother's taught you. He's got to hold his own. This transaction has been happening. The children have just interpreted this and taken it to their level. And it's really principally, it's been happening for decades.
Well, it used to be that you had sex with a man to get him to marry you, to commit to you, to get him to marry you. That's how it used to be. Now it's you got, in order to get money out of a man, that's why women are having sex. That's why their bodies.
Yeah, that whole thing about getting married, that they got married at 16 and 17. So they now women are having sex unmarried before, but they were getting married at a young age.
Right. But that's what it boiled down to. You had sex with a man to get him to marry you. It didn't matter at 16 back in the day. Even 16-year-olds were considered different. They were looked at different than they are now. There's no way anybody who's going to be okay with a 16-year-old marrying an older man. But back then, a 16-year-old knew that in order to be independent of her family, she had to find a husband. And the quickest way to get a husband was to have sex with him. Today, women don't care about, really, a woman who only wants money from a man, she's not going to care about him marrying her. She just wants the money. So she doesn't care if you don't make her a wife. If you do, that's a bonus. But she doesn't care.
So women don't care about being an asset.
No.
So do you know how to be an asset to a man? That wasn't a joke. I didn't tell a joke. Why are you laughing at me?
I care about being an asset to a man. So if I got it wrong, I'm willing to learn. I'm open to.
So you're willing to be a professional girlfriend.
Yes.
So if you're a professional, right, and you have a client and you make an error, you have to correct that.
Yes. Yes.
You have to get it straight. And when that client says, this is what I want, they don't want to, if you start saying, well, I can't do that, they're going somewhere else.
It's a little different with my clients, but I see the point you're making.
They do this every day.
I see the point.
Go somewhere else. They go to another store. They go to another brand.
Yes, I understand completely.
So you are okay with being a professional girlfriend who then becomes a professional wife. You're okay with that?
Yes.
I
don't view men as controlling, or I don't even deal with those type of men who are controlling and abusive. I understand that there are some men out here like that, but I don't focus on those men because those men are not in my orbit. So I can be free and say that yes, it's whatever you like, whatever you need. Yes. Yes, I can say yes. And that's the biggest problem that women have today is they don't know how to say yes to a man. When he's talking about his what he's not okay with, immediately you're going to shout him down and not want to hear it. And so it's going to be a no, 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 no. They don't know.
I don't do that. I don't do this. I don't do that.
Okay. So women, for the most part, need to learn how to start saying yes to men and be okay with saying yes to men.
Someone said something interesting. Women care, whores do not. There aren't many women in this society.
Unfortunately, that's true. Unfortunately, because even the ones who seem to not the ones who aren't doesn't have that stripper or porn star aesthetic, even those women don't seem to. They might want a husband. They might want marriage. They might want to be married because they don't want to be alone, but they don't want a man because they don't care about the man. Any man would do, as long as they're able to have this certain lifestyle. And part of that lifestyle is having a man and him providing a comfortable life.
See, I think you just said something that is why women have never been an asset to a man. Women got married because you just said they don't want to be alone. I think a lot of women married in the past for not decades, for hundreds of years, it was a way to avoid being alone, even if she had a job. Because when you hear women when they get older and they see they were really hot when they were younger and now they're not as hot, their kids are grown and they're alone.
No, because back then, prior to the late 60s, 70s, you were shunned. It was abnormal for a woman to live on her own, be on her own.
It was difficult.
It wasn't even just about difficulty. It was the fact that society did not accept that. It was not acceptable that you were labeled a spinster, and you were shunned from society if that was the label that was given to you. So women knew and understood that it benefited them to have a husband. Now there's no such stigma, so women don't live on your own for the rest of your life and never get married. And
right. Well, see, if you go back far enough, survival depended on the community. You had to hunt your own food. You had to cut your own wood. I lived in that environment for a little while. No electricity or running water, and I saw how neighbors work together. Where you have to chop down a jungle with a machete, no machinery at all. So, and the women work together. So, but a woman living on her own in that environment, she could survive, but it would be, a struggle as opposed to having a community working together.
She would be ostracized as well. So
I understand that. But just it wouldn't be so easy, is what I'm saying. Life would be hard for her. That's what I meant. Life would be hard. And women did get ostracized, right? No one wanted their wife or daughters around that woman.
Correct.
They didn't want that influence. That somehow we accepted that influence as being okay. So the
Correct.
feminist would have, she would have gotten her head cut off back then.
Yes. I
And
mean,
maybe we're missing some values in society.
but women were their feminists existed for a long time, for centuries. They just didn't really have a voice because the times that they were in. There are women who I mean, you could just look at the literature of those times and see how women were slowly imposing on things that were meant for men. And in just their literature, how they were trying to change the tide of time, and trying to get women to see that we can be independent of men. We don't need men. So feminism has existed for centuries. It just caught on.
Well,
Really.
actually, 1838, the coin was termed in 1838 by a French dude.
Right. And there was a reason why that it was coined, because you had more women. They had whole little social groups of like-minded women coming together and talking about these ideals that women are weak, men are controlling, men are abusive, and women don't need a man to be dependent. Women should be able to be independent of men. They had whole social circles. It
I
just
understand.
really, now it's not even a little far off corner social circle where you're whispering to your friends about it. Now it's open for everyone to see. And now it's not a bad thing. For most women, don't see it as a bad thing.
Well, I don't want to get caught up in this conversation, but the Harvard Medical School found that 70% of domestic violence is initiated by women. So I don't want to get women initiate a lot of domestic violence. The man eventually hits back. She gets angry. How could you? And she gets her ass kicked and calls the cops. And it just looks like the guy did it. So we don't talk about that as a society.
We need to talk about that, because I will say, when you first put those statistics to me without the article, I said, what did I say? I said, I didn't call you a liar because I don't use that word. I was like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. There is absolutely no way that women are more violent than men. But then when you break it down, a lot of women don't realize that just hitting or verbal abuse, a
Exactly.
violent act.
But domestic violence, not verbal. We're talking physical domestic violence. Most of it is initiated by women.
Well, they don't see that knocking a guy upside his head or pushing or punching
Right.
him.
It's okay. He's a man. He can handle it.
Handle it. They don't
Right.
see that as violent. But as that article pointed out, that a lot of women initiate in violence, and then when they start becoming victims of abuse, or when a man strikes back, that usually when they become victims of abuse, it's usually because they initiated the abuse.
Right. Exactly. So someone had a question for you. Okay, Letitia, tell us why someone should marry or be in a relationship with you. That's the question. I didn't ask it.
Because I'm awesome.
Did you get that answer?
I am what dreams are made of.
Oh my goodness. Did you say your wet dreams? I didn't hear you.
Oh my gosh. Hey, I mean, if that's, hey, I'm pretty sure it's a lot of those going on too.
Oh my God. So every time you say wet dream, the bells go off. Is that
No.
guys, should I make her laugh more? Do you like when she laughs? Her twins laugh too, don't they?
Oh my gosh. Why do you have to go there? We had this conversation, right?
Oh my God. See that you did every time the bell goes off, something's happening.
Oh my goodness.
So you don't like the idea of a professional professional boyfriend or girlfriend?
I don't like what? I don't like the idea. What? I'm sorry.
When I talked about being a professional boyfriend or girlfriend, that you make that guy a priority.
No, I agree with that. But yes.
So how do we get that message to young girls today and older women who miss the boat?
I mean, whew, that's gonna take some listen. So I like I said, I'm almost done. I'm over it. I just these women are very, very difficult to reach, to talk to. Um, I think the biggest way to get them to change is not going to come from other women. It's going to have to come from men, and it's going to have to take men to stop dealing with such women in order for them to get it. Because as long as a man is willing to deal with them and accept them as they are, they're not going to see anything wrong with them. They're not going to care.
Okay. You laughing? Did I make a joke?
Oh, I'm looking at the chat room. Somebody says shiny twins.
Oh man,
Oh my,
yes. I
I'm
think he has a date tonight.
No, he said, "Do you have?" He was asking if you had a date after this.
Oh, is that what he said? I misread that.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
PJ, is that what you asked? You asked me if I had a date after this?
said, "Do you have a dinner date after this?"
Oh my goodness, that was at the very beginning.
I think maybe the suit, but you're always wearing a suit, so
Oh, my
or
suit.
a
Yeah,
jacket. Yeah,
yeah.
it's not a suit, but you're always wearing a blazer or a jacket.
Right, 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 right. Okay. Ted, you're blind. I'm sorry, I was looking at it at the beginning. Okay.
Yes, he was asking you if
So,
you're.
yep. So someone said not going to happen. OnlyFans, and that. So women have OnlyFans,
Women have. I mean, they're making a lot of money off of OnlyFans.
right? So
And men are, and who is going into
supporting that exactly. They're living off what you guys call the simps. So
and well, it seems like there's enough of them in this world that they don't care. They don't see the need to change. This is what I've been told by them. There's nothing wrong with them, so they don't see the need to change. Men need to change how they are. Men need to get with their program.
women are leading men. This is part of the problem that we have, and maybe part of it is because too many men are being raised by single mothers, and they're accustomed to being led by a woman. So and they often find a woman who's just like their mother or very similar.
Yes, that is the biggest problem. And I keep telling women, you are raising these boys into becoming the men that you hate now, and that other women's daughters are going to hate eventually, and the divide is going to get worse and worse because you have taken on this idea that marriage is not important, that having a husband or having a family before you lay down with being married and having a kid outside of wedlock by a guy you probably barely don't even know, a guy who probably is no good, not going to stick around.
Right.
You could do whatever you want to do, and now you're stuck raising this child by yourself, this boy by yourself, and you have no clue. Women have no clue whatsoever how to be a man. I don't care what they say, how strong fisted they are with their boys, even if their boys are grow up into being gentlemen, they still have no clue as to how to be a man. You need a man to show a boy how to become a man.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. And someone said it's not only single mother, it's the environment, it's the media, it's the feminist kindergarten teacher, it's the TV show.
But
And,
however, parents are the first educators to their children, and parents are the gatekeepers to what type of knowledge enters into their children. So as a parent, you know that what your child is watching on TV. Too many parents have allowed their children to have access to YouTube. It's crazy that more kids know how to work a tablet than know their ABCs. At 4 years old, there's no way a kid needs to have a tablet and know how to work it, and then going on YouTube and finding all these videos and whatnot and learning the words to these songs, but they don't know their ABCs. So it's not the media's fault. It really isn't. It's the parents for allowing their children to have access to such.
How to Give a Blowjob is on YouTube, isn't it?
I wouldn't know. I mean, I see now you got me flustered. I'm like,
Yeah,
I,
laugh some more for us.
listen. Oh my gosh, you're so bad. Listen. So when the movie Girl Trip came out, right? Girls Trip came out. They talked about grapefruiting. I had no clue what it was, but I was able to find out what that was through YouTube.
Really?
But I'm a grown woman, so of course. Now that's not a movie that I would sit there and watch with my underage daughter. Why? Because then my daughter,
that bell's going off again.
my daughter would get curious and go look up on YouTube the same way I did. So parents have to be more protective of their children. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Somebody said it's like YouTube. I can pull it up.
So someone said, the good men play the simp, the good women stay quiet and enjoy what feminists get them via the state.
It's not that good women stay quiet because feminists get them via. I mean, good women stay quiet because good women don't associate with such women. Good women don't associate themselves with lowbrow, low value women, nor do they associate themselves with lowbrow, low value men. So when you have a good, solid woman who is true in her femininity, she's going to have no clue what you're talking about because more than likely she was not around that. And so she how can she engage herself? What is so funny? What you smiling for?
Someone said you want to see my six pack.
What did I tell you last time? Start taking the shirt off. See, I'm gonna give it just like you give it. It's called reciprocity. So you want to
give it the way I give it?
Yeah, go ahead, take your shirt off. Let us see your six pack.
I like to move.
Oh, okay. What? See, now I lost what I was saying. Never mind.
Bigger, stronger, faster. The power.
My gosh, you are awful. You are incorrigible.
And you like it. So someone said something when you were talking about women having children and or they can't remember who their father is, right? So the child doesn't even know because the mother can't even remember who the father is.
And that's sad, unfortunate. But the worst part is these women see no problem with that. They see absolutely no problem. What?
Said you're feeling the caveman.
Maybe. But they see no problem. Like it's so disheartening when I go into these groups where women are talking like this, that they really see no problem. They see no issue with the fact that they don't even want to take responsibility and accountability. Oh, well, it's not on me. It's him. He left. But it is on you because women are the gatekeepers to sex, and you should have vetted properly to ensure that.
You know what? So here's the deal: a woman can have sex, and I've met people. They've had sex on the first date, married, and didn't even come close to a divorce. They are together 40 years later, 3 children later. The deal is having sex on the first date doesn't determine whether you will become a wife. Having something to offer beyond sex is what determines. So any woman who believes having sex is enough to seal the deal, she's delusional, especially now that men are questioning everything. Having sex doesn't deter a man from marrying you. Having something to offer and having nothing to offer is what deters him. And if a woman understands what it means to be an asset and she's active about that, instead of saying, well, you tell me what it means to be no, you need to develop your own mind to be looking for those opportunities and if you know what people in an upper socioeconomic class are doing, then why not educate yourself so that you can support your man to get there?
True. I'm not disagreeing with that. I didn't say anything about sex on the first night. I just said these women are having sex with men who have no intentions on marrying them. Let's just face it. Whether it was sex on the first night, whether it was sex on a third date, whether she had something to offer or not.
No, if she had something to offer and it was valuable for him, guys, when a woman, see, this is the thing, women don't check in. This is why I started talking about a professional wife, professional boyfriend, professional girlfriend, because if you are a professional in your business, you know you need to check in and make sure you are providing the value that your clients want. Otherwise, they will not be your client anymore. Okay. And women don't check in for that.
I am talking about a specific type of woman with a specific type of man. And for the most part, these women they're only looking at the guy for a they're not vetting beyond the sexual experience that he can give her, right? She wants a relationship. She might want a relationship. She might want marriage. He's not. There are some men who just don't. They're consummate bachelors or players, whatever you want to call it. He's been around with every girl on the block, and now she wants.
No, I missed one.
Thinking, what? And now she's like, okay, it's my turn, but she thinks she's so different that she can lock him down. And so she allows herself to get pregnant by him, and now she's stuck. Now she's stuck raising a kid on welfare, probably by herself, or having to work after so long. You can only use welfare for so long. Now you got to find a job, and you're doing it by yourself. So now she's on social media platforms screaming, "All men ain't ish." Those are the women that I'm talking about. Those are the women who just don't care. They have now they are brainwashing women who tend to make good decisions, who probably won't engage with
exactly.
Her experience. Now she's looking at all men as if they're the same way because of her experience, and now she told her daughter, more like she told her daughter or her friend circle, and so now they have this little powwow that men aren't ish. So, fellas, I mean. And unfortunately, because the amount of good, solid quality women who understand the value, who appreciate what men
keep going.
It's like searching for a needle in a haystack. So, I mean, you're going to have to figure out those packaged with feed quinta. You have to figure out to keep away from such women and not have anything to do with them. So the answer is give up talking to the young women and tell the young men to stay away from them to get the young women to change. Yes, Ed, you not 55. Yes, because women don't think like men. We're not wired like men. So as long as men are willing to put up with such behavior and deal with women's bad behaviors, women are not going to see anything wrong with them. Women don't even understand that sex is just sex for men. Sex does not mean that a man wants to be with you or be in a relationship with you. A lot of women who deal with good quality, solid men who have sex with them think that all men want them now. Like they can qualify for that type of man as far as marriage. So, and the reason why that is because if someone's willing to deal with her, how is she going to see herself as a problem? So yeah, men need to stop dealing with such women because you essentially. So this is when this is where men have to take accountability. You are in a way creating the problem when men continue to deal with such women. Women who treat men as if they have no benefit to them, that they don't have to do anything, that they can just be who they are, and you're going to accept me as I am. They're not going to see it. So men are going to have to stop. You're going to have to leave them alone. And if that takes you going to Ming Lee and Saul and Becky, then so be it. To increase your odds, you're probably going to have to date someone outside of the Black community, unfortunately. And I know Black women are going to come for me saying that, but the pool of quality Black women is very small.
Child has every right to know his father. Yeah. So a lot of women are getting fired even before they met a man, because they have no idea how to make him a priority. And they've been taught that they're weak for making him a priority. And this idea of being an asset isn't even like it's a distant away. It just doesn't exist. And this has nothing to do with race, because when I Google looking for a wife as an asset, you don't find anything, even though I changed the combination of words. So no one's really even thinking about a wife being an asset, except where it's happening is a small percentage of the population. And so when people say the rich get richer, it's because they understand that their relationship is a team sport. And so those who aren't catching on are getting left behind.
But are they getting left behind because there are men who still deal with these ladies, so they don't see it like that?
No, they're getting left behind economically.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Economically, they're getting left behind.
Well, they're under this belief that women run the world and women create, men aren't nothing without women. So they don't see it that way.
I understand. And that this is the problem. That's why I wanted to have this conversation. So if women need to understand that it really is a team sport, and there is a way for a woman to be an asset to a man. There is a way to bring economic value. And you talked about one is networking. Yesterday or the day before, I talked about how women can brainstorm with a man if she has expertise in the law or finance or marketing, whatever it is, that she can brainstorm and help him be better at what he does. Women who are not making that kind of investment, they're women who are like, oh, that's your thing, and whatever you do is good. That she doesn't care. She's just like, where's my payday? She's taking. So if a woman is not being an asset to a man, that his life is better, it's enriched, he's financially better off because of her contributions. So I'm in no way saying whether women are inferior or superior. I don't care. What's her contribution, like real world, that affects his economic situation? If she's just taking because she believes she brings a uterus, a man is better off to pay a surrogate and get rid of her.
Yeah, I'm
not saying that as a joke. I mean,
I know. But there are women out here who are an asset, who can be an asset. It's just there's not that many because of the indoctrination of a little girl since she's been since a young age. I mean, like I've said, I was always the girly girl. I was always very feminine, and I was teased. I was told I was weak. My kindergarten teacher, she was a white woman who was married, and she asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, when I grow up, and I told her I wanted to be a wife and a mother. And she said, no, Letitia, women should not aspire to be wives. You got to be something more. You have to have a career and be independent. There's a woman who is married who is telling me this. Now, my odds of being an independent career woman and marrying as a Black woman was very small. But as a Black girl, I didn't understand that. And all my life, I had to fight back against the cultural, what's become the norm of being an independent woman and going to college and getting education and doing something for yourself and not needing a man and depending on a man. That's just how it is today. It's not acceptable to want to be something great for your husband. It's not acceptable to want to inspire him, be inspirational to him. It's considered weakness.
Yeah. So Crystalline said that distorted expectations of misunderstanding how each other work. This conversation is too common and always touch only surface level issues. So I'd like to hear what you think is a more deeper, because when you say distorted expectations, that's actually a surface, because people don't have distorted expectations. People only have what they have. So the reason why you're Crystalline, if your first language is English, unless it's another language, you speak English because that's all you were given. So it's not even an expectation. People have these presuppositions that have nothing else. There's no other knowledge of something else. Se eu quero falar contigo em outro idioma, você não pode entender-me. So if you don't understand that, it's because you were not given that and you have no access to what I just said. So people don't have expectations. They only have a belief that was given to them, and that's it. And so you carry that like it's right because that's what you were given to be prepared for life, just like you were given English to prepare for life. And you don't know anything else beyond that. So expectations is a false understanding because people are not having expectations. It's like you just speak English because that's all you have. And that's, yeah, a common, exactly, telling women that they are equal to men or better than men. And the fact in the workplace is saying that women are not producing at the same level, and that's costing companies.
Well, I don't know. I think it's cognitive dissonance for a woman to think that she's equal to a man, or that we are saying, because we're not. For one, women can carry babies and deliver them, and men can't. And then there are certain things that women just cannot do. I don't care how you try to, there are things that are innate to men that women just can't compete on. No matter how much you try, when you see all the women in the workforce, and you talked on this a lot, when you see a lot of women in the workforce that are in positions that are mostly male dominant or were created for men, what do they need? You have reasonable accommodations. Now a woman's sex, her gender, is now a part of the Americans Disability Act. A woman can request a reasonable accommodation based on her gender alone. So women are considered a protective class. Men are not considered a protective class. So if women are considered a protective class and men aren't, then how is that saying that we're equal? That's saying that women need special concessions, whereas men don't. So how is that women seeing themselves as equal or the same as men? The only time a man needs a concession is if he's disabled, or there's something going on where he's not capable. Yeah, there are some things women are better at. I'm not gonna disagree with that. But say that we're equal and on the same level, no, I won't.
There are jobs where women are better. In Finland, they have, the fishermen, they catch all these fish, commercial fish, and then they fillet them, and they have women do it, and their hands, the size of their hands allows them to do it quickly. They hired men, and none of the men could keep up with the women. But when it came to a butcher cutting these huge slabs of beef, the women couldn't handle the knife as a male butcher, so women were less efficient. So there are jobs that one gender may do better than the other, and we're trying to make everyone equal is a delusion. That's delusional.
When you look at the training for Marines, right, there are concessions that are made for women, even across the military. Women do not have to do the same amount of push-ups, the same sit-ups, same. There are some things that they just do not have to do that a man has to do. There are concessions being made because we are the weaker vessel. Our bodies are, and there's nothing wrong with admitting that. I don't know why women have a problem with admitting that. We are the weaker vessels. Our body is not meant for hard labor. It's not something I partake in. I mean, you can look at me and tell there is absolutely nothing when it comes to hard labor that I'm going to be doing. So I don't understand why women have a hard time accepting this. It's seen as a weakness to accept and understand that men are wired for certain things where women are not. That's just biology.
Right. So the crystalline, and I take it that's a woman. Yet people believe what they were told to believe, and that's it. And just like what you just said about slavery, what's happening in the Black community has nothing to do with slavery. If you understand how Blacks in the U.S. created multiple Black Wall Streets, they were very successful. They didn't do that with Wharton MBAs and Harvard degrees and Stanford, none of that. But they created extraordinarily successful towns and cities. So this is not, and if you move fast forward, the greatest economic prosperity of the Black community in the U.S. was from 1944 until 1964. Slavery had no impact, and that prosperity happened in the face of Jim Crow. Mm-hmm. So slavery had zero impact, and the two things, major things that hurt the Black community, and after 1964 was the whole, what was that, 1965 bill about equal rights, civil rights, the civil rights, and desegregation crushed the Black. That took all the brain power and the people with the most money out. They went somewhere else. And then you gave women this right for a package of welfare and putting the men out. And you now devastated the household by taking the man out. So that has nothing to do with slavery. Feminism has been more devastating to the Black community than even slavery. And it's hard for people to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Because slavery is supposed to be the greatest sin of America. It was devastating to think about having someone in chains and working them night from sun up to sundown without any monetary compensation. But like you explained, even during those times and after, you still had prosperity. You still saw marriages. You still created. It wasn't until the feminist movement of the late 60s and early 70s that now you see a disparity of lack of wealth within the Black community and lack of families. And lack of family leads to lack of wealth. So until women start to recognize and realize that you're going to need a man to build, you're going to need men, you're going to need to cooperate. See, men have no problem cooperating with women, but women seem to have a problem cooperating with men. And until you get that notion out of your head, it's just going to be what it is, unfortunately.
Well, actually, they've done all kinds of studies and experiments to watch how men and women cooperate differently. And under any kind of stress, women are less likely to cooperate. Men will cooperate. They ran a prison experiment and men cooperated, even though it eventually got out of hand. Women just could never cooperate, and it got out of hand. It was out of hand from the beginning. And if you put women in stress, well, see, now that we're forced, women have jumped into the workplace to work in conditions that were really built for men, and men are comfortable with that kind of competitive stress. Women are not, and it's creating a level of stress, and women are not cooperating with their men because they're forcing themselves to be in an environment that was not designed for them.
So I started watching a series on YouTube that used to air on television, Bear Grylls, The Island. And they had this one series where it was, they had two separate islands where they dropped the men off on one island in the Pacific and women off in another island. Okay. The women, they're walking from the lake side of the island and then got into the middle of the island, into the jungle part, and basically freaked out, became disorganized, didn't want to forge forward because they figured they were going to get caught further out in the dark, right? So then it took them 2 days to figure out, we need to find the beach. So they sent, over the course of 3 days, they sent out 2 scouting parties in all different directions. And then it took them, on the 3rd day, they finally found the beach. Now, when the ladies tried to get back to the campsite, they got lost and started wandering in the woods, and they separated. So they had a camp that stayed in the middle of the jungle, and then they had a camp that went out to the beach. So the camp that went out to search for the beach got lost, and it took them another 4 days. They were, instead of going up the coastline to get to where they were, they tried to cut back in through the jungle and got lost, right? So it took the other group of women to go around the coastline and find them. So, but when it got to the men's island, the men immediately organized, had one person in charge, and that person said, we're going through and we need to get to the beach before it gets dark. We can forge through. This is the way to do it. So they found the beach and they built a fire and started building their campsite immediately within day one. So the men were more organized. And even though they were having issues, you had one of the guys say, you know what, because I can't seem to cooperate with another member, it's causing discord within the group, I'm going to leave. Whereas the women were bickering. They were arguing and bickering back and forth with one another because one knew what she was doing and the other one felt like she didn't know what she was doing and she wanted to lead. And so they let her lead and she got them lost. So men know how to cooperate with one another. Women don't, and women don't even know how to cooperate with men. And then men, if we can't cooperate with one another, how can y'all even expect us to cooperate with men, to be honest? And then Chrislyn, there was something I wanted to address that she wrote. She said, it's not creating generational wealth at all. How are men and women of the Black race going to do this if we don't respect each other? I will say for the most part, when you're talking about men not respecting Black women, okay, we cannot lump in the gangster rappers, the little round the way corner street thug, because that's not a good majority of men. Good majority of men respect Black women. It's Black women not respecting themselves that brings about disrespect. And it's Black women who don't respect Black men. You have Black women now saying that they refuse to have a baby because it might be a boy. And they hate men so much that they can't fathom having a boy. You don't hear men saying that. That is the ultimate level of disrespect to say, I hate Black men so much that I refuse to have any children that will continue the Black race because I might birth a Black boy. So the level of disrespect, to say that the level of disrespect is on both sides, I think is a disingenuous argument. And Black women need to take a step back from that and really listen to what men are saying, because men are saying, this is what we want from our women. We don't want y'all out here trying to compete with us. We don't want y'all out here being all masculine and macho and thinking that, and not only thinking that you don't need us, but treating us like you don't need us. But women don't want to do that. Instead, they deflect to this argument, well, that's disrespectful and that's controlling. I've even heard a woman tell a man his language was abusive because he told her that women need to stop having babies with these thugs. That's how you single mom, a baby mama. And she said that was abusive language. You don't see that on men's side. You've had decades where women were allowed to go on public national television and just completely eviscerate and annihilate the character of Black men, when even they themselves were not experiencing such things. But you didn't see that from Black men. Black men just tucked their tails, put their head down and accepted that.
And that you said something important, that you had women saying that even though they hadn't had a bad experience, what it was really more in sympathy. That's what I was talking about, it being the culture.
Yes. And that's what you're seeing a lot of. A lot of women, majority of women, are not experiencing bad abusive behaviors.
Right, exactly.
They're sympathizing. I'm not saying abuse does not happen.
Correct.
But if it does not happen to you, then you can't really sit up here and say all men are like that, because no, the men that you're dealing with aren't doing that to you. So we got to get away from this sympathizing and women are the victims mentality. Oh, Ed, you not 55. You are, see, Ted, you are incorrigible.
I always say, I know nothing. I know nothing. I know nothing.
I started to rant a little bit because I'm just.
No, I know nothing. Yo no puedo hablar contigo en otro idioma. ¿Por qué?
I have no idea what you're saying.
Pero gracias, Señor.
I don't know what you're saying, and I'm not going to pretend like I do.
Thank you to him, and I'm saying you're going to say thank you. He complimented you.
Oh, gracias, Señor.
So people are not even being given a choice Just like you don't get a choice to speak English, they just tell you this is the way it is. Niggas ain't shit. You don't need a man. It just becomes who you are. Just like you speak English, that's just part of who you are. It becomes part of the identity. You don't know, well, you know you can speak other languages if you go out and learn them. Most people don't want to go beyond what they were given. People live like what they were given was reality. And then they project that onto people as though it's real.
Yes. It's
So wait, where the conversation is about how does a woman become an asset? So Crystalline, now that you're here and you think this is about blame, how does a woman be an asset to a man?
I think she should call in. I think she should call in and join the conversation and give her side of things. Because listen, Crystalline, I was you. I thought this was woman bashing, and I thought the men were exaggerating, or it's just the women that they were dealing with, and it's all them, and they didn't want to take any accountability and responsibility. But unfortunately, you know, Ted said, just listen, you know, just listen to what the men are saying. And then for me, I said, you know what? Okay, because these type of women aren't in my social circle. Let me see what the men are talking about. I did my own research. I started joining a lot of different groups with single women. And I'm here to tell you, if this is what it's like in the real world, I can understand why men are saying the things that they are saying. Because women do not want to take responsibility or accountability. Majority of men are not out here having sex all willy-nilly and popping babies in women and leaving them. That's not the majority of men. So who has to have accountability? If the majority of men aren't operating like this, but the majority of women are single mamas by a small select group of men, who's responsible for that?
Well, so here's a problem. See, Crystalline, people see what you're saying is shallow. There are, if you just listen to what Letitia said, there are women who are upset with men and never had a bad experience. They grew up with both parents at home. They are not hurt. They are responding in sympathy. It's become a culture. And it's just like you speak English because that's what you were given. That's the culture of your country, is to be an English speaking country. There are women who are just taking on a certain mindset and they have no justifiable reason for it. For decades, men have listened that they were not needed. They're not worth anything. They ain't shit. And imagine teaching your boy that, them hearing you say that. And there was no retaliation from men, zero. So why don't you come in? I just dropped a link in there. I asked, you're saying, tell me what you're saying. No, okay. So if you want to know what an asset is a resource with economic value that an individual, corporation, or country owns or controls with the expectation that it will provide a future benefit. A future benefit. So if you own a house and you're paying a mortgage, it's not an asset. It's a liability. You owe money to the bank. For the bank, it's an asset because it's driving revenue for them. So they are benefiting from you paying your mortgage. That is your liability. If you have a car and you're making car notes, it is not an asset. And even if you pay your car off, it becomes a depreciating asset because every day that car is losing value. And it goes down to zero, to nothing, to when it's worthless.
The only time a mortgage can become an asset is if you're making money off of it, like an investment.
If it has a positive cash flow, if you're renting it out, if it's a one family and you're renting it, yes, it is an asset. But if you're living in it and you're paying a mortgage and you're not generating positive cash flow from that house.
Unless it's an Airbnb, that's different. So.
Huh?
Unless it's an Airbnb. You have Airbnbs where people
live. You're still, that's generating positive cash flow. If you're generating positive cash flow, if you're just living in it. So if a women want to be taken out on dates, they want gifts and all this. So that makes you an expense instead of an asset. You're a liability. Because how does a man, that means the man could actually take his money and put it elsewhere and have better opportunities if he's not getting anything in return. And if a woman believes sex is her only asset, then we go back and to Crystalline, what you don't like is you just get a surrogate. You pay her, and instead of having a wife, you get a nanny who cooks and cleans, and you don't need a wife for that. And that's a lot. That's where you know what you're getting. And if that woman, if that nanny doesn't follow your instructions, you fire her ass.
Crystalline, the link is in the chat above you. So you just click on the link and then Ted can bring you in. Because she asked what the, can you drop the link one more time for her?
Just did it just now.
So you can click on the link that he just dropped and he can bring you into the show. So she's asking, are you meaning residual income? Are you meaning residual? No, he
doesn't understand assets and liabilities. She's asking. You're not even understanding. I'm sorry. Like that question is, you don't understand how your assets become positive cash flow.
But I think she's trying to understand. I think that's
I understand that, but she's got a lot of comments as though she really knows what she's talking about. But I actually set it out clear.
Well, maybe she'll click on the link. And she said that the problem is the issue is not, so Black men aren't angry at Black women. Black men are upset, and Black men feel that Black women have just pushed them aside and treat them as if they're nothing. Black women, their anger is coming from a place of dealing with certain type of men and with certain type of men and trying to juxtapose those type of men onto all Black men, or not even having those experiences, but sympathizing with Black women who do. And now they're angry at all Black men. So the anger is not the same. It's not even fair. But West Coast Reg, you're right. I am a prude, prissy, but I'm not a broad. But thank you for the compliment. I thank you for, I guess you're liking what you see. So thank you. So, and Ted had to step out for a second again. So leaving me with you guys again. Why do some of you have to be so rude? I just don't understand it. Like, and then you have men who are arguing and saying not all men are bad, not all men are this way, and then yet you have the ones who come in and operate like you. I just don't understand it. If a woman is not being rude or discourteous to you, there's no need to call her out of her name. There's no need to be crass and disrespectful. It doesn't help the conversation.
Well, if you understand, Crystalline, why did you ask about residual income?
Lando is hilarious.
I don't get that.
Yeah, okay, I thought you were trying to understand, but you're saying you understand perfectly well. Then what's the purpose and point of your questions?
Like you wouldn't ask about residual income.
Are you trying to poke holes in what's being said, or because? Okay, moving along. Are you there? Did you freeze up? No, you didn't.
I guess, Crystalline, you're not going to step into the ring, huh? Okay.
We can move along.
Huh?
And no, so we can move along. She's not interested in getting.
That's a problem when people talk a good game and don't back it up. Questions tell you a lot about people. People tell on themselves eventually.
I guess the guys like what they're seeing. Getting a lot of comments.
What are they seeing?
You see the comments. You see the chats. I told you next time wear a sack. I'm gonna wear a sack. I'm gonna see how you like that.
Lando, what does trap jumping mean? What does that mean?
Oh my gosh. You don't know what trap jumping is?
No. What is
no. Okay.
What does that mean?
You're selling drugs out of your home.
Are you joking or are you serious?
He's joking. He's joking. I don't think anyone would accuse you of being a drug dealer.
Well, Crystalline, hey Nelly Nell, I saw your thanks for joining in, and he said he checked you out, your YouTube channel.
Oh, well, thank you. Make sure you subscribe.
Absolutely.
Share.
Wait a second, Crystalline has thrown her hat in the ring.
Oh, is she here?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Crystalline? So
I'm doing great.
What is it you want to understand? What is it that well, you know what? What would make this and you've got a computer going on in the background, so there's feedback. Can you turn that down?
You're selling drugs out of your home.
Is it me?
Are you joking or are you serious?
He's joking. Yeah, you have to mute your you have to mute.
Crystalline, you have to turn the I can hear your computer in the background.
I only have my computer. I don't have anything else going on.
Crystalline, hey Nelly Nell, I saw your
you have to mute YouTube.
Check you out. Turn YouTube down.
Make sure you subscribe.
Oh,
yes,
this.
we're getting
Okay, can you hear me clear now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I wanted you to explain you said something about positive something. I can't remember what you said.
So here's what I said. When you buy a house, it's not an asset. You have a mortgage. When you mortgage a house, it's not an asset because you're paying the mortgage on the house. It's an asset to it's an asset to the bank because for the bank, it's generating positive cash flow when you pay your mortgage. Now the only exception to that, if you buy, even if it's a 1 family, 2 family, it doesn't, 10 unit home building, if it's generating cash flow that pays the mortgage and gives you profit left over, it's now an asset.
Right.
That's when it becomes an asset, right? It's generating positive cash. So if your mortgage is $1,000 a month and it's generating $1,200 a month, you have $200 cash flow. It's an asset. Or when you pay your mortgage off after 10 or 30, whatever the duration is, once it's paid off, you no longer owe money to the bank. It's now an asset that can be on your books. Mm-hmm. The same with your car. A car can be an asset. However, if you're paying off your car note, it's not an asset because you owe money. Unless someone in here said if you're renting your car out, it could be an asset if it's generating positive cash flow. But the thing about a car, the difference between a car and a house, your car will go up, your house will go up in value. Even if the housing market crashes, it eventually goes back up. Your car, as soon as you drive that sucker off the lot, it loses value, and every day your car loses more value. So what are the assets, right? So when we're talking about a woman being an asset, as a man, we understand clearly many of the variables for a man to be an asset, right? He earns income, he provides food, shelter, he's protective. If someone breaks in a house, he's the one who goes downstairs and checks. A man is an asset financially, safety-wise. Women look for a level of emotional security from a man. So we're asking, how does a woman become an asset in a man's life so that her presence is not costing him more than she's bringing back to him.
Mm-hmm.
So the same with, like, if you have a house, let's say a 2-unit house, and you have a renter upstairs and you live downstairs, and your mortgage is $1,000 and your renter's paying $1,100, your house is now an asset, even though you still owe a 30-year mortgage. So you have more coming in than going out. So, a lot of times men date women and they have more going out than what's coming back to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand what you're saying, and when you explain the depreciation of the car and the homes, it would be like residual income, keeping income coming in all the time would be a positive for that woman if she knows how to balance the books in the home. So when you ask what is the asset of a woman,
what do you mean by balancing the books in a home?
well, keeping the home steady. Whatever money is coming in, if she wants to be an asset, and if she can go and work as well, she doesn't have to stay home to be home with the kids. She can go and work and bring in money as well. Would
Right.
that not be an asset?
It could be, but then if you're going to have children, who's raising the children then?
Depending on what that couple decides. She can be at home and be an asset. She can be the teacher for those children if that man appreciates that from her.
Well, that's what most men want, though.
That doesn't seem like that's what most men want.
Well, so do you know what happened is when we hit the late 60s and 70s, Letitia at the beginning of the show was talking about how a lot of guys came back from Vietnam and they were having a hard time finding jobs. So they created something called affirmative action, which was designed to employ the veterans so that they could have preferential choice over finding a job. Well, instead of giving most of the job to veterans, they start giving the jobs to women, which now made men unemployed. And no one asked. So if the women would have not taken the jobs, men would have taken them, and we would have stayed on the trajectory where, hey, honey, you stay home, you take care of the house, I'll provide the money, you let me, if I need to get a second job, I'll get it. If I need to work 18 hours, because a lot of guys were doing that, I'll do that. And we want our kids to have a better life. We want them to go to college. What do we need, to keep the house running? But instead of women doing that, they took the jobs, which then just put men out, and then said they didn't need men, which now men had nowhere to go.
Well, didn't the men need the men needed the women at that time to come in and help? It was too many of them wounded from fighting. So they were an asset to join the workforce at that time. Now some may have taken advantage of the opportunity to go in and work, but the men needed that help. They needed women to come in because it was so many men wounded from the war.
No, that's actually incorrect. There were men who were wounded, but there were lots of men who came back healthy. And there were lots of other men who didn't even go into the war who needed jobs. So there were enough men, but once you gave too many of the jobs to women. So one of the things corporations did is they cheated, right? So the corporations were told, for example, you need to hire 1,000 women and minorities, meaning Spanish, Asian, or Black, or Native American. So what the corporations did was said, okay, so I need to check 1,000 boxes for hiring 1,000 people. What I'll do is I'll hire one Black woman, and I'll hire I'll check one box for woman and one box for minority. And so they hired 500 Black women instead of 1,000 women and minorities. So they cheated. So a lot of Black women were getting jobs, which then it was a way for them to cheat, right? So they could say, hey, I met my quota. I checked 1,000 boxes. Now leave me alone.
Did you say Black women were getting those jobs?
That's what I explained. Either you were hiring Hispanic women or Black women, but either one, Hispanic or Black, you check 2 boxes, one for woman and one for minority. That's what they started doing back in the 70s, early 70s. They started doing that.
Okay. Well, I just think as far as women being assets to the man and to the home is to continually challenge yourself. Yes, women depreciate their body, depreciate just as well as men. It's
Right.
no difference when it comes to gender, when it comes to depreciation, so to say. But to be an asset is to continually educate herself, stay on top of the game and bring balance to whatever that man is doing. We're not looking for men to do it all. Some women are willing to meet that man halfway.
So how would a woman be an asset by continuously learning? How does that make her an asset to a man?
Because she's not what's the words? She's not being stagnant. She's always having an open mind to growing with him. She's not just staying in one place. She's not just accepting the role of being a mom.
Right.
Be a mom, but educate her children, in advanced ways.
Okay. But how does her additional knowledge benefit a man, though?
What do you mean? How does it advance? What was the question?
How does her additional knowledge, constant development, benefit a man?
She can't just depend on his knowledge. It's the knowledge. It's the balance of both his knowledge and her knowledge for generational wealth for those children, because that man and woman is going to die off soon. So she has to be able to weigh almost the same as a man when it comes to that. He's not going to always be able to function.
I understand, but children are actually a liability. It costs about $250,000 to raise a child from birth to age of 18. So that's an expense that has nothing coming back, right? So a man understands that. So if a woman is actually birthing an expense to the man, how does her additional knowledge benefit? See, the child is a liability, an expense to the man. As much as you might love them, you might love your dog is an expense, right? No matter how much you love them. Your children are the same. So how does that woman's extra knowledge become an asset to a man?
I don't know how to put it in words. I don't know how to explain it.
This has to happen in relationships. So women need to be able to express this so that men can get it, because otherwise, why would a man choose her if she can't express it?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. She should be able to express that. I mean, a woman is almost like an incubator for a man's thoughts. She's going to research the things that he's saying he wants to do as far as the family is concerned, if he's choosing to be a part of a family. So once he plants the seed within her, what his vision is, because without a vision anyways, both of them are going to perish. So once he implants within her his vision, it's her job to go and research how can she build that vision? How can she help him see his vision come to pass? So to me, that's just, getting extra support, education, or whatever is necessary to help the vision. To me, that would be an asset, but I don't know how to express it in words how I would like to relay it. But here not being a gold digger, not just looking for him to be a money man, just for him to be. It's not about that. Okay. Not about that alone, unless they're gonna live homeless.
Well, see, do you understand why a man has the right? So I take you into my life. I set my life up so you don't have to work. You can raise the children, educate them, and I'm going to have you here. So I'm getting no return on that. So maybe it's better for me to pay a company to have a surrogate mom have this child, and the woman goes away, and I don't have to pay for anything. I can hire a nanny who cooks, takes care of the kids. And if that nanny doesn't follow my instructions, she gets fired, and I bring in a better one. So that's when men are asking, so how do you become an asset in my life? These are the kinds of things that men want to know. And if the best a woman can say is, well, I can't express it with words, he's going to go to the surrogate and raise his children, educate them, and while he's out making money, the nanny takes care of them. So why would a man bring a woman into his life if she can't even express how she's going to be a benefit, a future benefit, instead of a depreciating asset? And as far as a man's body, men and women are not equal to that. When a man gets older, he becomes more valuable, more of an asset, and a woman's body becomes less of an asset. So they're not equal in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you're not asking the right questions so that the understanding for both men and women could be obtained. Maybe you're not asking the right questions. I'm not sure.
What would make a woman an asset? I got it. She acquires knowledge. So she can have a PhD in economics. But what difference does that make to me? Her PhD means nothing to me. How is that an asset to me?
Well, that wouldn't be an asset to you. I think the woman would need discipline. She would need discipline, order, and discipline. I think I'll stick with that word. That woman needs discipline because it takes discipline to be able to help be an asset in any way, shape, or form. If she's wild and doesn't have any type of structure, she can't be an asset, not even herself.
That's a problem. But here's the deal. I'm a successful man. I understand discipline. I understand ambition. I understand goals and plans. I'm inviting a woman into my life. Why would I do that if she's not going to be a benefit to me? She's just going to be an expense. She's going to want to go out to dinner. She wants gifts. She wants, she's going to use up more utilities, electricity, another car, fuel. All of that is an expense. Like, how did that? There's no benefit to me.
What if that woman doesn't want those things? She's not interested in you going to spend more money.
I understand what she still is going to use up utilities in my house. She's going to eat food. She's got to have food, right?
Right.
So that's an expense. Well, I get no future benefit from that. But discipline, I have that. I don't need discipline from her.
What would you consider an asset from a woman? Because to me, it sounds like that question is shallow to me. That's like saying I don't need anybody but myself and my money. I can work and I can obtain all those things that a woman can give on my own. I can go pay for someone to do it without the stress of having a conversation with a woman, without ever crossing paths if I don't want to.
Well, isn't that what women have been saying to men for decades?
Probably feminist women would probably be saying that. No,
but that's become the culture. I've lived in several other countries. You don't hear women speaking like that in other countries. And Letitia was saying that there are women who are upset with men, even though they grew up with two parents in a house and they were never raped or molested. They were never abused. Mm-hmm. Yet they're angry with men as though men did something bad to them, and they never had a bad thing happen to them from men. So that's kind of become the culture. Like, women just bought into that. Oh, well, we need to be mad at men because, men are abusive and they're horrible, and they never had a bad experience. Mm-hmm. So it's, how does a woman who actually bought into that be an asset to me as a man when I have success, discipline, I have these things, I have income? Why would I add a woman who's just going to be an expense? If she's just there for sex, there are better ways to get sex without having that woman be an ongoing expense.
Can I interject here? I hear what you're saying, Ted, but you have to actually, some men, especially men with those type of resources, they feel that the trade-off is better. That if they're going to have a wife who's going to birth them children, who's going to be at home with those children and doing the things with those children that they don't have to do, and not have to pay a nanny, not have to outsource it to outsource it to others. So they don't want it. I mean, yes, men can go out and get a surrogate, get nannies, for the most part. They don't really need a woman in today's society, right? But they're still choosing to marry. They're still choosing to have wives, even though they don't need one. Why is that? It's because they still see the value in a woman. They still see her as the person that they want to have children with. They want to raise their children. And the trade-off is, for lack of a better word, the trade-off is, okay, I'm going to provide my resources, and she's going to provide her femininity, she's going to provide her beauty, she's going to provide her uterus, and she's going to provide her youthfulness, and she's going to provide me with all the creature comforts in a comfortable home, a clean home, because I don't want to have to deal with getting a maid and having to worry about all those situations, because it's easier for me to train a wife to do it exactly how I want. And not only after she's done doing things how I want, I can have sex with her. I don't have to go out and procure a prostitute or an escort or whatever, because it's not as easy or as convenient as men think. Yes, just having sex with someone, there's no attachment, but men are still marrying women. So they still see having a wife is more valuable than getting a surrogate and getting a nanny and housekeeper and hiring a prostitute.
Well, here's the problem. Marriages are lower than they've ever been in this country since they started recording them, and they're continuing to drop. So this is a strong message from men, because the men decide whether marriage is going to happen or not. So if having a woman, I get what you're saying. What the risk is, 75% of women who get married file for divorce. So that's not becoming worth it. And even a good prenuptial, a really good one, could protect a man, but there are prenuptials that are getting thrown out.
So yes, we've gotten and that's the other side of the coin. We've gotten to a point in society where men are like, yeah, it's not worth it. They don't see a benefit in it. So then women have to then ask themselves, what can we do now? Now men are forcing women to really look at themselves and ask, how do we benefit men? Because just being a woman with a vagina and being able to give birth, it's no longer.
Well, technically, it was never enough. Men just never said anything about it because they didn't think that there was more. They could have more from it. And that's the point of what we're saying here is men are taking a step back. I mean, if you're a business, so marriage is a legal binding contract. That's a business. And is that business generating positive cash flow, or is it negative? Or am I just breaking even? Because if I'm just breaking even, I'll just go hire a surrogate and a nanny. And not all men want children, but those who do got it. But there are places where you can order your dinners, and it'll be much cheaper than hiring a cook. And you can have a nanny you can have a maid come in once or twice a week and keep the house clean, and you're done. You can outsource.
But the choice of men is really their choice. It's their decision, because I don't have a problem with interracial dating and marriages. If men really wanted to get married, they can find a partner. They can find someone outside of the Black community if needed.
They're doing that, and that's part of what's happening. A big part.
Then do that. Do that. Do what necessary. I think Black women need to understand that Black men no longer see the benefit in marrying them. And so, I mean, the point of this conversation, Kristen Lynn, is so that Black women can see that Black men feel as if there is no benefit in marrying Black women. And the reason why that is because Black women see that their degrees, them working, them being able to bring forth children is enough, instead of asking and sitting and having a conversation with Black men and asking, what does that Black man desire?
Those women that have degrees and all that don't bring substance to the table. There has to be substance in a relationship. There has to be substance in an individual for anything to work. So if a Black woman is only thinking about her degrees, them degrees ain't going to mean nothing, because half of the time when you get a degree, those jobs are not available in the workforce anyways. So I think one asset for a woman, especially a Black woman, is substance. I don't believe a Black man is going to get substance from any other race.
But
maybe he can.
But according to what Ted has laid out as an asset, a man is not going to get any financial gain off of her having substance.
Why would he need to get what is the financial gain? What is the financial gain a black man is looking for?
Well, this is not about race. There are men of all races who have women who are assets.
Right.
And those women, they make life easier. They network and they make connections. They find investors. So they network with other women who are married to other successful men. Right. So on the lowest end, your husband has a job. He's not a business owner. And so your wife goes out and networks and she meets some woman who is married to a guy who's a manager or a business owner or a CEO. And through that network, through that relationship, you can get another job that's better paying than the one you have now. And it's all because your wife made a good connection and you have a great relationship with these people. This happens every day. And then on the other end, and I've seen this, the woman is a soccer mom, takes this, they have one child, takes the son to soccer practice. She meets other soccer moms and says, hey, what is your husband doing? What does your husband do? And meets the woman who's married to a very successful entrepreneur, and her husband is a consultant. So now she makes a great dinner. She's a great hostess. The husband sit down, talk, smoke cigars, close the deal, and now their whole lifestyle just raised. It's because the wife was basically a salesperson, or she finds an investor, or a vendor, someone who supplies some service that he needs, but he gets a discount because of the relationship. That woman is an asset.
Or also, if that man has a business, instead of him outsourcing some of the
right
work or graphic artists or whatever, there's a lot that goes into a business that woman could be an asset in, and help him in building that business. And we see that a lot. Plenty of Black women are willing to do this, but it boils down to, because even though there are some who are willing to be an asset or who can be an asset, it's just too many who aren't. I'm sure, I don't know, but I've heard too many conversations where Black women are now starting to say they're not doing anything for a Black man. They're not even willing to give Black men children, especially sons. So
that's true. And those type women have too much of a table. I mean, they get all the shine, those type women. And it seems to me that men cater to those type women, and they have it's half and half. They love them and hate them all at the same time. So they talk against them, but those are the ones that get everything they need from a man. I don't understand, what's the big issue, because those are the leading women. Those type women, the one that don't want to give the babies, that don't want to be at the house, that's getting the PhDs, that has their own money. These are the type women that men flock to. But when these discussions come about, it's an issue.
But do you know why men flock to these women? Do you know what they have that the good, solid women more likely don't have? The women who understand.
They got resources.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Resources.
They have resources.
But men of means and success don't look for a woman.
They don't care about that.
They don't care about that. So what is it about? What is the number one thing that men look for in a woman?
I would hope they be looking for a peace of mind, somebody that they can, be comfortable with, that they can be relaxed around, that they can trust.
Okay, I understand that. Do you know what men truly want when it comes to a woman? When they're looking at a woman, before they even ask her out a date, what is it that causes a man to pursue a woman? Because he's not coming over saying, hey, ma'am, yes, I love your personality and your ability to. No, they're not doing any of that. Mm-hmm. They're looking at women who are attractive to them. Mm-hmm. And those women put a lot of effort into their appearance and making sure that they attract men. Unfortunately, Some men aren't vetting properly beyond attraction, and now you're dealing with the situation you're dealing with. But those women are getting picked because they're basically what those men desire, and it comes down to outward appearance. So I think when it comes to all the good women, the good solid women, we have to compete with those women.
Right.
But unfortunately, even good solid women don't want to compete in that way. And,
No.
and so why is that? Why is it that we don't want to compete when it comes to beauty and size and all those other things? Because that beauty gets you in the door. Beauty gets you through the door, but it doesn't keep you in the building. But at least you're in the door. And then once you show, your inner beauty, then that's what's going to keep you there. But first you have to get in the door. And the good solid women, they don't want to do that. So the women who are attractive but don't know how to treat a man and feel like they don't have to do anything else other than to exist as a woman, they're able to get in the door, but they can't stay in the building. So now we have to flip it to where the women who can stay in the building, we just need to get through the door. And
well, can I ask a question? Would men not see it beneficial to invest in a woman that doesn't have what they're looking for outwardly? There might be women, there's women in the world who are willing to look that way, but they may not have the resources to keep themselves up the way that the man is expecting them to. Would it not be?
I understand what you're saying, but women expect men to come to the table with their resources and not really trying to build them up and help them for the most part. Well, women, a man who has himself together. So it's on a woman. So since men have to take care of their part and make sure that they're stepping to women with their half, women have to do their part and step in, come with their half. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ted.
No, keep going. There are what?
There are ways that you can go about and not have to spend so much money. You might have to do some rebudgeting because competition is fierce and it's hard. You compete for a job, right? If you a promotion, you do what's necessary. You do training if you have to. If your boss says it's a new position and it's going to pay you X amount of money, but I need you to go to these classes and you got to pay for these classes to get that promotion, that payoff is going to be worth it. So what are you going to do? You're going to pay for those classes. So the same should apply for when it comes to women optimizing their chances at competing with other women when it comes to successful men. You can't just sit there and say, oh, well, I have all this other stuff going on, but no, you have to, you are the type of woman that can stay in the building, but you have to be the woman that can get you through the door.
But there's another aspect. So if you come to the table saying invest in me, you just made yourself an expense right from day one. And so you're already not an asset. Because now I have to invest in you with the hope that maybe you're going to be that.
That makes sense.
So what's my return? If I see when you say invest in you, well, what's my return on that investment? I mean, I hear a lot of women say a man should want to invest in a woman. Great, I don't mind. I'm savvy. I know how to invest money. If I buy a stock, I understand I want to get something back. And even if the stock goes down, I know how to make investments. So I make money either way. I invest in a woman. How do I get my money back?
That's a good question. I mean, every person isn't coming from a stream of wealth. Every family isn't built that way. So when I speak of expectations, I think that's a high expectation for people to put out there because everybody doesn't have it the same. The return on investment will come in due time with that person. If that person see the value in them, they will show them. They will put the work in. If they see an effort, they will put the effort in. And the return on investment would be profitable.
So let me give you another example. So I said that women can network and she can be an asset. So before she even networks, a man who's really savvy, he wants to understand her network when he meets, not the day he meets her, but early on, he wants to understand her network because every woman is going to inherit a network from her parents. And if she came, she should have a network from her father and from her mother. She only had one parent. Now she's already deficient. She only has half. And so if her network is, let's say she knows a lot of guys who are auto mechanics and, they are janitors, and she knows they're really good at what they do. Except my network, I need to be networked with entrepreneurs who have significant companies, right? Because I'm selling insurance or whatever, whatever financial services, whatever it is. Her network is not a match for me. And so that means I'm going to have to train her up, which means that's a lot of time and effort. That may not be worth it. Now, if I'm looking for what Letitia said, and she's very attractive, I might, if she's receptive to my training, I may make that investment. And personally, about 11 years ago, I met a woman and I wanted to start a new business. So I said, hey, if you come live with me, you're going to work for me. You'll have no bills. I will pay everything. And so instead of me paying you, I'm going to buy your clothes. I'm going to, we'll take vacations. All of that I get to write off as my business as part of my expense towards her, any training and development. And I'm going to train you how to work in my business. And she did that. But not every woman will want to do that.
That's true.
So but she actually followed my instructions for the most part. But sometimes you ladies want to say you're smarter than us guys and you know how to do it better instead of following the instructions, and that you start creating some conflict there, which is not necessary. But you wouldn't do that in your job. You take the instruction and you learn. So women feel like they have to compete with the man they're with, and that makes you a liability because now you're creating stuff I don't even need. Either you're going to learn or you're not. So, a lot of women go into relationships and don't even have relationship skills and don't want to learn. And that you don't, I'll make the effort, but you don't have any relationship skills. Mm-hmm. So, and another, Letitia talked about physical beauty. Human beings are going to think about their children. So a woman's going to look at a man's body and say, how healthy will my children be because of his body? And the same thing a man is going to do. So a woman is going to be an incubator. Is that incubator going to be a healthy place for my child to be? And that child is going to get half of her genetics. How healthy will that be? What are the inherent, any sicknesses in the family? How healthy is her body? Because my kids are going to inherit her health, like what she has now, not what she had 10 years ago, like right now. And that's a big issue. That's one of the reasons if a man wants to have children, it's like, okay, I'll choose her. I like her body, her genetics. That'll be good for my kids. She's attractive. My kids will be attractive. And as Letitia said, that gets you in the building. But to keep you in the building, you've got to bring a lot more. So I think the problem is men have accepted very little from women. Mm-hmm. You'll have my baby, you'll cook and clean, and that's it. But people who tend to be more successful have higher expectations, even if they don't say it out of their mouth, right? And to Letitia's business, there are people who will pay someone like her $100,000 or hundreds of thousands of dollars to find a very specific kind of spouse. And part of what they're looking for is the network. What's her family's network? Who are they tapped into? Because whoever she's tapped into, they can open doors for me and my business. And so that means that one door she opens might be worth millions of dollars, and I'll marry her. But provided she has these other things that I want also, So I know a lot of women may think no one talks about that, but men are thinking that. That's why they will spend a lot of money to make sure they are connected with the right person, and it affects their reputation as well.
Right. So it sounds like the man is always thinking about his finances. Is that accurate?
I bet the woman is too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with a man thinking about his finances and trying to protect them. But I don't think that's what men are looking for for the most part. I think men are looking at the future. Divorce is very, very hard. It's a very difficult thing to go through. And for the most part, women leave, men stay, right? So you put all this time and effort into your marriage, might have some little quabbles and disagreements, and then she decides you're not good enough anymore. So now she wants to leave and trade you in for a different model, and then take half of your resources and your children. So and then men are looking at also what are their children, what type of mother will this woman be
Right.
for
Exactly.
my children? He doesn't want a Sukiana who thinks creating an OnlyFans to try to build some wealth and try to pay for her kids to go to private school is going to be the way to go. No, he wants a woman who has class, self-respect, feminine, and cooperative.
Mhm.
Because all the things that she is going to affect his children. So they're thinking the overall picture. Men thinking the overall picture. Women think of right now. And that's why you see a situation where women get caught up with these men who are going to give them a great sexual experience and not thinking that if I have sex with him and have a baby, is he going to be here? Is he going to marry me? Whereas you don't have the majority of men who are single do not have children.
Right.
And the reason why they don't have children is because they're thinking of the future.
Well, you said something else, Letitia, when you were talking about if you want to raise at work, you're going to do what you need to do to prepare yourself for that raise. So I don't think you were listening, Crystalline. So I made up something called a professional boyfriend and girlfriend or professional husband or wife. And that means if you're in business, you know how to treat your most important client. You make them a priority. You make sure you understand what they need. If their needs are changing, you might have to educate yourself. So whether it's a client or you want to raise at work, you do certain things to make sure you can rise to the needs of that new position or new client, right? So if you're a professional husband or wife, then you would do the same thing. So you were saying earlier having knowledge, except if you're not willing to engage a woman not willing to engage and impart some of that knowledge to their husband and say, hey, I'm learning this new stuff and I know these things that you do. Here's how we could help you. But if all you're doing is saying, I have this knowledge in my head and I'm valuable, it means nothing to a man. It's just stuff you have in your head. So whether you learned it on your self-education or you have a PhD, if you're a lawyer, how does that benefit me? And I don't know if a lot of women think in terms of my education means I can have independence, but how does my education be an asset to the man that I'm with? And it can be, but if women are not even thinking about being an asset, being an asset means not just your mind, it's healthy mind and body. And as me as a man, I already know how to find peace. I don't need a woman to give me peace. I know how to do that.
That's fair.
So there has to be tangibles, and women mostly use intangibles. I'm going to inspire you, or I'm going to make you feel good. I'm going to love you, and I'm going to give you children, and that's my tangible. But there are women who can't have children, whether a hysterectomy or they keep having miscarriages. There are lots of women who do that, and they appear healthy, but for some reason they don't carry. So does that mean those women are worthless? So what are the things? Forget whether a woman can have children or not, because that's only a short part of the relationship. That's a finite time. You're going to have children, and now what? So how are you going to be an asset? So a car, you buy it, it depreciates. So is a woman going to be a depreciating asset? with driving up expenses, or is she going to be like a house that appreciates over time and positive cash flow?
That makes sense. I think I have a better understanding of what you're saying now. You probably helped me understand something that I didn't understand before, and I can apply it to myself, as far as getting wiped up. So I
Okay.
appreciate that.
All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. Anything
So,
else?
so I just want to leave you with a little bit of advice. I'm also a dating specialist, so I tell all my female clients, you want to make sure you put yourself in the best position that you can attract the optimal men, right? And I heard you say resources. I don't come from a family where I was born with a silver spoon. I was born and raised in the project, so
Mhm.
come from a community of poverty. But there are things that you can do to start improving upon your look. And the one thing that, unfortunately, with Black women is fitness. Um, we need to start working on our weight and start, just not even just for a man, but just for ourselves, health wise. Having children is difficult when you're overweight to have children. There's a lot of health problems, and men are looking at that also. Like, are you going to have any difficulties with getting pregnant or carrying a baby to term? So you want to work on your fitness. A little makeup goes a long way. I know a lot of men are saying, look, but a little makeup goes a long way. You can wear your hair natural, weave, wigs. Men prefer natural, it seems. But just make sure that when you leave the house, you're looking cute. You're looking your best. And I know that sounds superficial, but sometimes you got to use what you got to get what you want. And I know that sounds cliche, but if you know that you're the type of woman that is going to cause a man to stay, you have all the other qualities that are going to get a man to stay. Why not work on what's causing them not to even come to you, right? So, I mean, a lot of us had to work on ourselves and just do it. So those women who have no problem with men, they put a lot of they had the thing is they had no problem putting a lot of time and investment into making sure they were what men wanted as far as the physical aspect. The only problem was they didn't work on their mindset. They didn't work on the inner parts of them. You seem like you're a woman who wants to learn, who understands that cooperating with a man is the best way to go. So you possibly could be a great asset to a Black man out here, and they're passing over what could be a diamond in a rough because they can't see you.
Right.
So
Well, thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Hey, no problem. Thank you. Thanks for checking us out over. How'd you hear about me anyway?
A friend of mine sent this link to me, so he's probably watching also.
Tell him I
And
said
we
thank
have these kind of conversations all the time.
you. All right, cool. All right, good.
Thank
You see, I'm not trying to blame women. I mean, if anything, I want women to have the tools. What men need to also know what to look for. Someone said men must set their price too. That will shake up the competition and straighten women up. So it's men making higher demands, and I think men didn't put too many demands on women in the past.
Right. Which is it could be a sore thumb for some women because there's still a lot of men not in the homes. So men and women are raised by a bunch of women, and so that kind of puts a sore thumb in the community because we don't have examples. So if men want to make a difference in those areas, then instead of having conversations where it seems like the woman is being bashed for what she doesn't carry or what she doesn't have or bring to the table, then some conversations could be had giving the information so women who are teachable and ready to adjust themselves can do that.
Okay, appreciate it, and I hope you see that I'm not here to have shallow conversations.
I feel better about it now.
Thanks a lot. And
Thank you.
don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I want to see your comments more in the future.
All right. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. What?
That was good. That was good.
It was. It was.
See, you set off. I told you there's more women out here who are willing to listen. They just, when they start asking questions, you just gotta like not get, like try your best to try to have some patience, because women don't think the same as men. So you did it once again, Mr. Santos. Kudos to you.
Thank you. What are you saying? I'm impatient?
I think men want women to just automatically get it in what they're saying. And if a woman doesn't, he kind of writes her off, kind of write them off like, you just don't get it, whatever. And then it starts to lead to a conflict. But no, you are very patient. You're very patient. You walked her through it. Instead of getting frustrated, you walked her through it to where she started to gain some understanding more. So I think more men could learn from you on how to get women to listen.
Thank you. You have to tell a woman that enough, shut up, sit your ass down and be quiet.
Don't say that, because you didn't even just do that. You know they're going to start doing that.
No, then you get this across. Be man, you, woman. Man speak, woman listen.
Yes, that is true. But first you have to get them to a point.
Man speak, woman listen.
Okay.
That's it.
I like when you do that, right?
Hey, that's not good, SW. So he said, I've known and know many married couples of all races. Not a single one of them are happy, neither the man or a woman. So SW, you may not want to spend a lot of time with those people. All right. Look, I talk about, I don't know if you heard it. I talked about being a professional boyfriend, girlfriend, professional husband or wife. There's some development, not just a mindset, but knowing how there's some preparation. If you want to have a job as an accountant, there's things that you study to be good as an accountant or an engineer or a lawyer or a window washer. I mean, there are so many jobs where there are things you need to understand about the craft, and people often don't spend enough time making sure they understand one about themselves. I did a video, I think it was yesterday, and I said it's never about the other person. If you want to watch that video, it's never about the other person. It's always about you. And until you invest the real time to understand really who you are and what's compatible for you, you most likely will get with the wrong person and then not know what you're doing. So if you really don't know who you are and don't have relationship skills, then yeah, you'll see those kinds of people. And then there's a whole nother thing of people who have good marriages and don't really appreciate them. And they always think the grass is greener somewhere else. So you might want to check those people and not spend too much time with them, because they can influence you in ways that you don't want. And I'm not advocating marriage. I'm just saying, if a man wants to get married and build a legacy and have children, it's never about that woman. It's about you and who you are and what you need for who you are, and a woman who's a match for that. But if you make it about the woman in your list, that's what a lot of women do. They have this long list and they never qualify for the list. So,
and women have to understand that it's okay to focus on the man and just make it about him, because in turn, what's going to happen is that men will reciprocate. But men have the hardest job out here, especially Black men. They have so much to deal with. So just learn to say yes more than you say no. It's okay. Feminism has us thinking that to say yes to a man and to make it about a man and to focus on a man,
right?
That we're weak and we're being controlled. Right. We're basically set for wives. Okay, well, how has that thought where has that thought gotten us? Loneliness and bitterness. So now it's time to accept that, okay, we fell for the okie doke. Now it's time to change. Now it's time to focus on, okay, the man is the one bringing the resources. The man, we want the man to be the head of the household. Okay, we want the man to lead. Then follow, learn to follow him. Following him does not mean that he's going to turn around and control you and abuse you. Following him doesn't mean, well, I'm going to allow you to lead us. No, 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 no. Learn to follow without question. And when you do that, when you can operate in that way, that man will reciprocate. If you're with a man, you have to worry about him abusing you and controlling you and all this other,
right. Exactly.
You don't need to be with him. And majority of men are not that way. So there is no need to focus on it. All you have to do is just operate in your femininity, be his helpmeet, and basically learn to say yes, whatever you like, and watch how you see things fall into place for you as a woman.
Hey, appreciate that, PJ. Caveman. Me man. She, woman. Man, speak.
You only say that because you know I get a kick out of it.
Oh, man. So what did you guys get any value out of this? And even me speaking to the woman, Crystalline, what did you guys get value out of having Letitia here? Aside from the
don't say and don't. I'm gonna go like this.
Nelly Nell, blaming women. Blaming women. They'll feed off your emotions, hold them accountable. It's like tossing holy water on a vampire. And yeah, maybe you do have to hold them down and throw holy water. And you know, maybe guys, maybe sometimes saying no to a woman and holding her accountable is the best thing, because if all guys did that, then they would have nowhere to go, and eventually they'd have to get in line.
So PJ has a question.
Yep.
What is a helpmeet? A helpmeet is a woman who meets the needs of her husband, whatever they are. That's what.
Whatever. Did you say whatever? That is that. Should we put that in quotations? Whatever they are.
Yes, whatever they are.
Whatever.
But she needs to make sure she vet a man that's not going to be having some crazy whatevers.
Hey, honey, I had a dream. We were having a threesome.
That's not a need. That's a desire. That's different. That's not a need.
Yeah. All right. All right. Okay. You don't think she gets it. All right. So what did you get out of this?
Ed, you not 55.
Ed, you not 55. Educate you not. Is that? So women define the needs for men.
Well, stop allowing them to do so.
So when I say I had a dream about a threesome, I want that. Don't tell me it was a desire. That's a need.
Well, then you know what? You wouldn't be the husband for me, because my husband wouldn't be needing threesomes. I'm not going to be with a man who needs threesomes. So
okay.
I do polygynous relationships. So
this is a one-time deal, like the discount of the century. This is a one-time. Don't miss this deal.
I'll tell you what. You go have a threesome with 2 hookers, and I don't want to know about it.
Oh my God, that's dangerous. So I got it, Edwin. I got you. God himself couldn't give Eve a paradise that would stop her from you.
I don't think she was looking for something more. I think Eve just fell into like what women had done with feminism.
Right.
It sounded, what the serpent was saying, it sounded good. It sounded plausible. And she went with it. She did not trust Adam. And that Adam said that, this is the edict from God, that we can eat of anything but this tree. And the serpent made it sound so good. The propaganda that he put on her was so overwhelming that she lost her senses. I don't think it was something that was purposely or maliciously intended. But women are led by, we are led by our emotions, and I think men need to understand that we are emotional creatures, and we are led by our emotions. And unfortunately, sometimes our emotions can lead us astray, and that's why we need men, because the serpent was able to get Eve because Adam was not by her side.
So Edwin, you know, that's interesting because that's what Letitia's saying. Feminism became the snake and women listened to it. And if you look back recently, 1940s, 50s, the advertising agencies started aggressively hiring psychologists, sociologists, and anthropologists so that they could better understand how to craft advertising campaigns to get people to do things they didn't want. And it was easier to get women to do it than men. That's why you have women buying such big consumers. So yeah, they've studied both men and women are a better target. And
Yeah.
they make things more emotional, and women will buy it. They can sell on emotions, have a relationship. Commercials talking about having a relationship with your car. Come on. Man's problem is that he abandons his purpose to not be alone.
I said certain women men need to leave alone. There are certain women you just need to. I mean, if you feel like you want to be with those women, I mean, even God had put a prophet with a harlot, and he continued to run after this. He married a harlot because God told him to. So if you feel that you can be with this woman, you can handle this woman, that's who you want to be with. I'm not saying don't, but you can't. I mean, what's the point of complaining when that's what you chose? So there are certain women that you should stay away from. They're not going to do you any good. And if you don't, you're going to get what you get. It's the same with women. If they don't learn to stay away from certain men, I mean, not everybody is infallible and not everybody is perfect. Not everybody is great and not everyone has the best intentions. So you have to discern between the good and the bad. If you go after the bad, it's bad, you're going to get what you get. And that's just the reality of it.
Well said. SW, I see you said a woman's finances is not an asset to me. It's how she makes me feel. That could get you in trouble too. People know how to say what. I was just talking about ad agencies knowing what to say to people and to get them to do things they didn't want to do. So I've made some videos that had a big focus on the kinds of neurochemicals that our brains secrete that make us feel good, and it makes us misjudge the person. So, check out some of those videos where I did do that, because I really laid that out. Enjoy those neurochemical secretions. They feel great, but that has nothing to do with commitment and being in a woman who's an asset to you. They're just not the same thing. And so that's how guys get to play women a lot. They know how to say and do the right things to make her feel good. Mm-hmm. And then the woman says he lies to me. She really got something out of that.
But are they really lying though? I was thinking about this earlier, right? So men's communication and women's communication are different. So women tend to assume a lot, right? Women think, oh, because he likes me, because she's showing some type of interest in me, he wants to sleep with me. Oh, that means he likes me. That means, if I sleep with him, that means he wants to be in a relationship. He wants to be married. So I don't care if I end up popping out a baby. But yet that guy said nothing of the sort.
Right.
There's no conversation, there's no communication being had, but women will assume. Women do tend to make up conversation. I hate to sound like your parrot, but women tend to make up conversations in their head. Thank you for allowing me to see that about myself, Ted. Women make up conversations.
Write novels. They write those thick novels in their head.
We make up conversations in our head. Like you could be saying one thing, and in our brain, it's being translated as something completely different.
One.
So, oh.
Yeah, being loyal, SW, they need to focus on how she's going to be a future benefit. That's really what this show is about. How does a woman make herself an asset to a man, like on purpose, not accidental, not luck. So if you want to raise at work, you know that you have to develop yourself in a certain way. You don't want to be an expense that's sucking the life out of the man. Like there's got to be some aspect that you're bringing, whether it's knowledge, your network, working, like Letitia talked about, working for, if you have a business to work for you, whatever it is, research, and also, when I meant to say it to the Crystalline, a woman who is committed to making sure her man has the proper diet every single day. Just make sure he's healthy. That can be very useful.
Yeah, she's supposed to be, men focus on making money, building their legacy, their empire. And then the woman is supposed to focus on the man, the family, the home, and everything else. But unfortunately, women are forgetting their role, and that's their role. Women want to now cross gender roles where they can be providers, and then they want the man to not only provide, but they want him to focus on all the other stuff too.
Well, Edwin's is saying something interesting here. So women are always willing to change the contract to their benefit and state, no, I verbalized what I was willing to do in the marriage, and so did she. She later stated that because she didn't really understand what it entailed, that she would annul that part. And this is a big reason I'm doing this show, because these are the kinds of conversations men need to have.
Yes.
You need to know up front, and this, I'm willing to do it, but there are ways to ask the question in different ways and start talking about real life situations, so she gets reality that, hey, I'm not qualified for this.
People want to stay on the superficial level. They want to talk about marriage, they want to talk about kids, and men will go out the word mission. And then some women say, yes, I'm good for all that. But you don't know how she is when she gets upset, when she's depressed, when she's disappointed, when it
doesn't go her way.
Things don't go her way.
Right.
Men need to start vetting for this. And that will tell you a lot about women. See, you should start a seminar to help men vet for this, because I think you'd be great at it.
They need to interrogate. They need to interrogate women, honestly.
Is that what you do?
No, you need to not be afraid, because if you're going to invite someone into your life who creates havoc, then you should have interrogated, and you have the right to do that before you let her in. Interrogate her to know if she is an asset, not just good talk. Lots of people are good on paper, and that's why saying what network did she inherit from her parents, because that's going to tell you a lot about what she's up, to what arena she can function in. So
I understand not every woman is alike. There are a lot of charlatans. There are a lot of women who are going to put on a show per se, but you need to learn how to get through all of that, her being attracted to her, how she makes you feel. You really need to vet her for long term and make sure that you're compatible and that she's agreeable and that she knows how to cooperate and basically follow your plan. I don't know why men are having a difficult time saying you're going to follow my plan or you're not going to be a part of this at all. I don't understand. I'm seeing a lot of men are having a hard time with being, as Ted say, a caveman, Me man, you woman, this is how things are going to go. And if you don't like it, then you can get gone.
Right. Exactly. So any final words you want to say?
Just stop making excuses.
Okay.
Stop making excuses. Men, stop making excuses, justifications, and putting up with the bull crap.
Good. So always love having you here. This was I was probably a little more harsh on you because this was an important conversation, and I needed men to hear a real conversation. And it was cool that that woman talked and you helped her see. But some guys seem to think she probably still didn't get it. I don't know. Yeah, family dynamics is absolutely, because that tells you who you're marrying, right? So I think yesterday I talked about that on my live.
PJ, really? No. Oh my gosh. The people in your chat. I don't think you are harsh. You've been much more harsh on me in previous times. So I understood that this was an important conversation. I grasped that. So and I think Crystalline added another dimension to it. So it's grateful to have her on. We gotta do this again. I actually liked it, even though it's almost 4 hours.
Yeah. We're counting down to 4 hours. Hey, Lando, thanks a lot. You guys have been great. Everyone who's been listening, I got to tell you, really, thanks a lot for being supportive. Crystalline, thanks for coming on and knowing that I wasn't going to cut your head off. Thanks for being so cooperative in that conversation and listening. Thank you for that. Love to have more women join in this conversation, at least listening to it, because a lot of guys, we've been trained to just tell you things that make you feel good. And that doesn't work for anyone. In the end, everyone loses that. So guys, never be afraid to be a man. No woman has a right, not even another man has a right to tell you what it means to be a man. You get to say who you are as a man. And I think that's been a big problem. Women have defined manhood for so long that it's kind of confusing for men to know what manhood is without a woman's input. And you really don't need a woman's input at all to define yourself, to distinguish yourself as a man. So women really do respect and appreciate a man who's being firm. As much as they may kick and scream, they will eventually go. Did I say something wrong?
No.
Good. So that's critical. Like, your understanding yourself is really important, because that's the only way you're going to know if a woman is compatible. Most women have set themselves up for pump and dump, and be honest about that and don't try to make them into something else. I did a video or a show about, can you promiscuous woman become a good wife? That was a nice title. You know, we know, can you turn a whore into a housewife, right? So, and I talked about how all the things that hurt a woman. So you need to really understand a woman's past, her numbers, all these things matter. How she manages money, how she sees herself, how she sees men, her family, all of that counts as to whether she can ever be an asset. And believing you can change a woman, you know, that could be a suicide mission. So you don't want to do that, especially if she ends up taking half. So guys, I want to say thanks a lot. I'll be back with another show, and I want to make them all provocative and make you all think. And I want to make the women scream that I'm doing horrible things.
Is that a double entendre? You enjoy making women scream, huh?
I couldn't hear you. Say that a little louder.
I said, was that a double
entendre? Scream when you say it.
You heard me.
All right, guys.
Again someday.
Thanks, Letitia. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.